Chapter 878. Just as the Tiando League's army was gathering, Yang Dingtian led many masters to the Taboo Continent to take back the gate of the human kingdom and completely block the passage from Little Western Paradise to the human kingdom. Riding on the fastest demon eagle, they arrived at the Taboo Continent in just one day. Yang Dingtian saw the 4 sea serpents guarding the entrance almost immediately. Without a doubt, Yang Dingtian did not know any of the 4 sea serpents. But they were all near the level of infinite great masters. However, not only were there experts from the Sea Serpent clan guarding this place, there were also experts from the Netherworld Sea. There were 4 experts from the Netherworld Sea, including Tai Muley, the culprit who cut off Song Zhao's leg. In Yang Dingtian's plan, there was no plan to start a war with the Nether Ocean at the moment. That was because the Nether Ocean was actually the power of Little Western Paradise. Because the master of the Nether Ocean, Wu Yu, was the descendant of the Demon Fox tribe and the Speechless tribe. Yang Dingtian immediately stepped forward and said, "Elder Tai Muley, I'm here to take over the gate of the human kingdom. Please allow me to do so." Before Tai Muley could say anything, the leading Naga female general suddenly opened her gorgeous mouth and spat out her terrifying snake tongue, making a terrifying roar at Yang Dingtian. Tai Muley looked at Yang Dingtian and said, "Your Excellency Yang Ding, I believe you know the origin of my master. So this gate of the human kingdom belongs to the Nether Ocean, and no one is allowed to offend it." Yang Dingtian said, "Then why is the Naga tribe here?" Tai Muley said, "This is the relationship between my master and Queen Hai Exin, and it's none of your business." Yang Dingtian suddenly narrowed his eyes. The alliance of the Nether Ocean, the Vulture Palace, and the Naga Empire was a huge disadvantage to him. Your master is from Little Western Paradise, and the Nether Ocean is in the human kingdom, so they should follow the rules of the human kingdom. Yang Dingtian said slowly, "This part of the Taboo Continent Sea is in the human world. Naturally, it should be managed by the Tiando League." Tai Muley rolled his eyes and said slowly, "Words are useless. Mr. Yang Dingtian, you can either do it or get lost. Of course, you have to remember that if you make a move, you will become the enemy of the Netherworld Sea and even the Little Western Paradise." Tai Muley was right. It was useless to rely on words. However, should he make a move? If he made a move against Wu Yu, it would mean that he had completely fallen out with Wu Yu. Currently, did Yang Dingtian have the qualifications to fall out with Wu Yu? There was another crucial question. Was Wu Yu in the human kingdom? Or was he still in the Little Western Paradise? What is it, Your Excellency Yang Dingtian? Have you thought it through? Do you want to scram, or do you want to fight? Tai Muley said. Yang Dingtian closed his eyes and thought for a while. Pa, pa pa pa. Several demonic sky-splitting lightning bolts quickly hacked over. Before Tai Muley could finish his words, he was directly struck and his whole body was completely charred black. Yang Dingtian's demonic sky-splitting lightning was the signal to attack. Immediately, Yao Li, Bo Lu, and Dongfang Minmi quickly took action. In an instant, the 8 experts guarding the entrance of the Taboo Continent were all killed. Of course, Yang Dingtian did not kill them, so the 8 experts did not die, but were only seriously injured. Tai Muley's body was charred black. He looked at Yang Dingtian and said coldly, "Kill me if you have the guts. You have offended my master, what will the consequences be? You will know soon enough." Yang Dingtian looked at him and said slowly, "That day, you cut off Song Zhao's leg and Zhu Hongshue's arm. Today, I will make you pay for it." After that, Yang Dingtian slashed down with his sword. Suddenly, Tai Muley's arm and leg were directly cut off. Tai Muley did not say a word. He gritted his teeth and stared at Yang Dingtian. The Taboo Continent Sea area was taken down so easily. The next step was to send people to guard it. Originally, Bo Lu and Yao Li were guarding it, but now Yao Li might have another mission. Bo Lu should also go to the Dongli grassland. But now, Yang Dingtian felt that one of the two had to stay. Therefore, Yang Dingtian ordered Bo Lu, Ah Wen, Ah Wu, and Elder Ning Busi to stay and guard the entrance of the Taboo Continent Sea area. Among these 4 experts, 3 of them were powerhouses close to rank 14. Elder Ning Busi was also an unbounded great grandmaster. Unless Queen Hai Xin, Wu Yu, Wu Daozi, and Wolingzi came in person, no one in the human countries could break through. Wu Daozi and Wolingzi would not come. It was not certain whether Wu Yu was in the Netherworld Sea. It was very likely that he was in the Little Western Paradise. Then, the only one who would come to fight for the entrance of the Taboo Continent's sea area was Queen Hai Xin. However, her motivation to fight for the Skull Hall was not very strong. She did not have much of a good impression of the Little Western Paradise. If nothing unexpected happened, the Queen of the Sea Hearts would come to see him before the next step of the plan. She would also come to see him immediately after knowing that Yang Dingtian had returned to Cloud Sky City. Yang Dingtian looked at Bo Lu and said, "I'll leave the entrance of the Taboo Continent's sea area to you. But once powerhouses above the half-saint level rush over, do not fight them head-on. Immediately give up and protect yourself." "Yes," Bo Lu said. Then Yang Dingtian led the experts back to Cloud Sky City. Yang Dingtian was right. Queen Hai Xin had indeed come. Not only had she come, but she had also entered the valley. At this moment, she was holding her enchanting son, Yang Yi, who had the bloodline of a demigod. Moreover, her expression seemed to be very fond of him. "Your Excellency Yang Dingnan, you're back?" Queen Hai Xin smiled and said, "Your son is really beautiful. I really want to carry him away and make him my son." Then Queen Hai Xin sweetly said to Yang Yi, "Good baby, come back to the Naga Empire with me and be my son, okay?" Yang Yi only smiled gently and did not answer. Yang Dingtian stood still and looked at Hai Xin's beautiful face. Hai Xin reluctantly returned Yang Yi to Yao Rao and then said to Yang Dingtian, "Let's talk." Yang Dingtian directly walked out. After Hai Xin left, Yao Rao immediately hugged Yang Yi tightly and then gasped for breath. She covered her heart and felt waves of pain. When Hai Xin entered the valley, although no one showed it, she had really frightened everyone. Because there was simply no one who could stop her. "I won't ask where you've been for the past 2 years, and I won't ask how your cultivation is," Queen Hai Xin said. "You've made such a big move, are you going to officially attack my Naga Empire?" Yang Dingtian said, "You're thinking too much, it's just a normal drill. Of course, we have to know all the illegal ships that go to the human countries." Then, Yang Dingtian said, "All right, I've also caught the 4 female Naga generals you left at the Taboo Continent Sea entrance. You can bring them back to the Naga Empire." Queen Hai Xin's beautiful face suddenly changed and she said, "Yang Dingnan, are you determined to go against me?" Yang Dingnan said, "Your Majesty, I should be the one saying this. I know that I'm always preparing for the war of destruction, but I insist on allying with the evil ways and trying to destroy the human countries." Queen Hai Xin said slowly, "There's no other way. The Dongli grassland is too small to accommodate the Naga Empire, and it can't accommodate my ambitions." Then Queen Hai Xin said, "Yang Dingtian, but there's another way to solve my ambitions. That is, I won't invade the human countries as long as you're alive. You and I can give birth to a real Naga, and then in the future, not only can he inherit the Naga Empire, he can also inherit the entire human countries and become the master of the world. Isn't that the best ending?" Yang Dingnan said, "In that case, can you help me deal with the evil ways?" Queen Hai Xin was silent for a long time, then shook her head and said, "Sorry, that's impossible. After understanding the evil ways, after understanding the Demon King went in, I won't choose to be their enemy. At most, I'll be neutral and won't interfere in the war between you." Yang Dingtian smiled coldly and didn't reply. Queen Hai Xin suddenly said, "Yang Dingnan, do you still remember Shimin Ningning?" Yang Dingnan trembled and said, "What do you mean?" Queen Hai Xin said, "I know her secret, and I even know where she is. If you agree to my request, then I can tell you where she is." Suddenly Yang Dingtian's heart beat faster, and then he said coldly, "Who knows if you're telling the truth?" Queen Hai Xin said, "Actually, the Naga in this world hasn't completely disappeared. Your Shimin Ningning is a descendant of the Naga." Yang Dingnan was shocked. Of course, he wasn't shocked because Queen Hai Xin said this fact, but because this fact came from Queen Hai Xin's mouth. How did she know so much? Queen Hai Xin frowned slightly and said, "Strange, after hearing this secret, You don't seem to be very surprised. Then Queen Hyexian said, you should know clearly that once you find Shimin Ningning, you won't just get a lover or a wife. You'll get the help of a real Naga. At that time, your power will be like a tiger that has grown wings. Yang Dingan said, this is very contradictory. If there's a real Naga in this world, then the one who will suffer the greatest loss should be you. You should be very worried. The Queen of the Sea Heart smiled and said, you don't know enough. Then Queen Hyexian said, I heard that in a few days, you'll be competing with Wu Daozi at the Heavenly Edict Academy? I'm very surprised. Why would you do this? Could it be that in these 2 years, you've had an incredible encounter? But since you've already decided to compete, then I might as well give you a few more days. I'll wait until your competition is over before I give you an answer. How about it? Yang Dingan nodded and said, okay. Then Queen Hyexian floated away. After a few hours, the Council of Light made another announcement to the world. 5 days later, at the Heavenly Edict Academy, the leader of the Tiando League, the leader of the Council of Light, and Wu Daozi of the Vulture Palace would have a glorious battle. In an instant, it attracted the attention of the world. Chapter 879. Husband, the demon spirit you brought is very old. Wu Maji said, it can be made into 2 demon spirit mist robes and 2 demon spirit black armors. It's even better than the one you're wearing. Yang Dingtan asked, you're done? I'm done. Wu Maji pouted. Who are you going to give it to? Then she muttered, you gave your big grandma Shimin a gift, but the other sisters didn't. Don't think we don't know, you're so biased. Yang Dingnan immediately stretched out his hand and pinched her, you aren't any smaller than her. Biased. Wu Maji grumbled. Yang Dingtian said helplessly, next, I'm going to make a very magical ring. I'll give it to you first, okay? Really? Wu Maji asked. Really? Yang Dingtian. Wu Maji revealed a charming smile and stuck out her tongue to lick Yang Dingtian's lips. At least you have a conscience. Then she took out the demon spirit mist robe and demon spirit black armor. Take it, use it to please other women. Then, Wu Maji said seriously, husband, this demon spirit black armor is much better than what you're wearing. It can resist and neutralize a lot of damage. Why don't you change it? Yang Dingtian. This demon spirit mist robe and demon spirit black armor are for Yao Li to carry out dangerous missions in the Naga Empire. The safer they are, the better. Wu Maji said, she's a bit like Song Chunhua. She's already loyal to you, so don't get involved with her. You'll just give us another competitor. Yang Dingtian was completely speechless. Wu Maji was like this. Song Chunhua, who followed Yang Dingtian because of her ideals, was quite cold to her. She wouldn't make friends with her and wouldn't try to coax her into her room. Only a woman like Dishi Bien who didn't care about anything, like Dishi Bien, could be her helper, so she tried every means to trick Dishi Bien into Yang Dingtian's bed. Speaking of which, this seductive woman was truly snobbish. Yang Dingtian went to send Yao Li off. He headed to the Dongli grasslands to carry out a secret mission. Of course, the so-called secret mission was basically to help the resistance army of the Naga Empire escape and find Huang Yu, the confidant of the former Queen Hyexian who was exiled by Queen Poisa. At the end of the day, it was to restrain Queen Hyexian and prevent her from focusing on the southern barbarian continent. Remember, if you meet someone with a similar cultivation base as you, don't accept the challenge. Safety first. Yang Dingtian said. Yao Li nodded and said, yes, I got it. With the demon spirit mist cloak and demon spirit black armor, unless Queen Hyexian comes personally, no one in the Naga Empire can stop me. Yang Dingan nodded and said, then I'll have to trouble you. Yao Li didn't say anything else. Instead, she rode on a demon eagle and flew towards the Dongli grasslands. Following the orders of the Council of Light, the war machines of the entire human countries started to move quickly. In just 2 days, the South Central Continent Army and the Ing Continent Army had finished gathering and were heading towards the southern barbarian continent. Moreover, they were all crystal ships. Dongli clippers. There were more than 1,000 ships of various sizes. The first and second armies of Zhongjing had also finished gathering and were heading towards the south. With all the military forces added together, there were close to 2 million soldiers. They were like a giant beast that was about to surround the entire southern barbarian continent. The southern barbarian continent's gathering speed was relatively faster, but the western continent's gathering speed was much slower. This was because they had mobilized troops from 4 or 5 defense regions. Although they weren't gathering in one place, the total number of soldiers involved was as high as 8 million. The few armies were separated by tens of thousands of miles. It was a huge military operation. From gathering to setting off, it took a long time. Even so, Queen Hai Xian didn't seem to be affected at all. She did something that Yang Dingtian didn't want to see the most. She swaggered towards the southern barbarian continent. The new owner of the Vulture Palace, Wu Daozi, came to welcome Queen Hai Xian with the greatest pomp and circumstance. Furthermore, in the southern barbarian continent's queen's new city, they publicly signed a lease agreement to lease more than 3,000 miles of the southern barbarian continent to the Naga Empire. If this happened on Earth, there was no doubt that this lease agreement would be despised. This was because it meant the loss of one's country and humiliation. However, most people in the Vulture Palace didn't have this concept. They had always regarded the southern barbarian continent as their territory. However, this area was filled with savages and savage beasts. It was very difficult for the people in the Vulture Palace to feel that this was sacred and inviolable territory. Of course, most of the members of the Spirit Vulture Palace were uncomfortable with the Serpentine Empire interfering in their sphere of influence. However, the Vulture Palace's bloodthirst had long been wiped clean by Wolingzi. They didn't have much of a reaction to this agreement. In the Queen's new city, Wu Daozi had belittled Yang Dingtian to the point that he was worthless. He had described the Heaven Dao Union's army of 2 million that was constantly approaching as a bunch of clay chickens and pottery dogs and didn't even place them in his eyes. Furthermore, he publicly announced to the people of the Naga Empire and the Vulture Palace that Yang Dingtian would definitely die in the martial arts competition a few days later. At this moment, Yang Dingtian was completely crazy before his death. He could be regarded as a corpse in the grave. Your Excellency Wu Daozi, you should still be careful. Yang Dingtian never lies. Since he agreed to have a martial arts competition with you, it means that he is confident, Queen Hai Xian said. Therefore, you should still prepare a foolproof plan, especially for Wolingzi. Your Majesty worries too much. Wu Daozi took a sip of wine and said, I only have one question. Your Majesty, have you heard of anyone who can break through from a 9-star 9th-grade Grandmaster to a half-saint in just over 2 years? Queen Hai Xian shook her head and said, No. Not even in 20 years. Then that's it. Wu Daozi said, Moreover, my cultivation has greatly improved in the past 2 years. Under the guidance of Princess Mudan, I have also spent a long time cultivating in the illusion of the taboo continent. Yang Dingtian is blind to challenge me to a martial arts competition. He is completely seeking his own death. Queen Hai Xian frowned slightly. In fact, this Wu Daozi was not a good ally. His arrogance were difficult for even Queen Hai Xian to tolerate. In comparison, Wolingzi was greedy for life and afraid of death. Although he was fierce on the outside but weak on the inside, he was easier to grasp. This Wu Daozi in front of her was a man of his word and had a very unyielding personality. If it were not for the fact that she needed him to suppress Yang Dingtian, and that the evil ways behind this person were too powerful, Queen Hai Xian would still be very disgusted with this person. Therefore, she endured and said patiently, Your Excellency Wu Daozi, Wu Yuming was also full of confidence that day, but in the end, she was defeated. Suddenly, Wu Daozi's expression changed and he said, Your Majesty, do you think that I will repeat the mistakes of that useless Wu Yuming? Queen Hai Xian said, I just want you to be careful and not underestimate Yang Dingtian. Wu Daozi sneered and said, Wu Yuming's defeat was entirely his own fault. At that time, he was already an infinite great grandmaster, and his cultivation was more than 100 times more than Yang Dingtian's. In the end, he insisted on pursuing a magnificent effect and used the so-called darkness profound flame. In the end, it was devoured by some energy in Yang Dingtian's body. And coincidentally, Some energy in Yang Dingtian's body could only devour the darkness profound flame and nothing else. If he had used any other method, even the stupidest method, Yang Dingtian would have become a pile of rotting bones by now. How foolish! Queen Hai Xen was completely speechless. Her patience was limited. She did not like Wu Daozi from the beginning, and seeing him so insolent, she felt even more uncomfortable. Therefore, after exchanging a few more pleasantries, Wu Daozi returned to the Vulture Palace. However, in order to avoid being taken advantage of by Yang Dingtian, Queen Hai Xen still stayed in the Queen's new city in the southern barbarian continent. Half of the reason she stayed here was to protect the Snakeman Empire's base here, and the other half was to protect the Vulture Palace. As long as she stayed here, Yang Dingtian's army would not dare to do anything. As for the 8 million troops gathered in the western continent, Queen Hai Xen thought that it was a trick to divert the east and attack the west. "Grandpa, please don't fight with Yang Dingtian, okay?" Spirit Rabbit said, "In fact, let's not be the master of the Vulture Palace anymore. Let's go to an extremely remote place where we don't know anyone. It'll just be the two of us living together, and I'll cook for you every day. Isn't that good?" Wu Daozi's eyes were full of tenderness, but his voice was very cold. "My dear granddaughter, as you can see, it's not me who is looking for trouble. It's Yang Dingtian who is seeking his own death." Spirit Rabbit said, "If you didn't ally with the Snakeman Empire and oppose the Tiando League, he wouldn't have become your enemy." Wu Daozi said angrily, "You are my granddaughter, the future successor of the Vulture Palace. Are you going to stand on Yang Dingtian's side? Is Grandpa's position lower than Yang Dingtian's in your heart?" "No, granddaughter is not standing on Yang Dingtian's side, but on the Tiando League's side. I'm standing on the side of justice," Spirit Rabbit said. Wu Daozi was still angry. "Let me ask you, in your heart, is Grandpa more important, or is Yang Dingtian more important?" "Of course Grandpa is more important. Grandpa is my only family, and Yang Dingtian is just a man I admire a little," Spirit Rabbit said. "He's a clown. Why do you admire him? He's a clown who overestimates himself," Wu Daozi said sternly. "From now on, you are not allowed to mention his name, and you are not allowed to see him." Spirit Rabbit said with tears in her beautiful eyes, "Okay, Grandpa, I won't see him. So let's find a place where there is no one and live there for the rest of our lives, and don't get involved in their battle between good and evil. Isn't that good?" "Impossible," Wu Daozi said coldly. "It wasn't easy for me to get back what belongs to me. How can I give it up like this? I lost decades of my life and lived in hell. Since God has let me stand between heaven and earth again, how can I be so lonely and unknown? I want the whole world to know my name, Wu Daozi. I want the Vulture Palace to stand at the top of the world. I want the whole central continent to be your playground in the future. I'd rather die than give up everything and live in seclusion." Spirit Rabbit looked at Wu Daozi's fanatical face, and after a long time, she said sadly, "Grandpa, you don't love me as a person anymore. It's because you want to monopolize me. The only thing you care about is your ambition." "Nonsense," Wu Daozi said sternly. "Do you also want to become a stupid woman? After a few years in the Heavenly Enlightenment Academy, your brain was washed away." The Spirit Rabbit said, "In the most dangerous and difficult times before, you were still concerned about whether I was happy or not. But now, you just want to imprison me in your cage. You don't care whether I'm happy or not. What nonsense are you talking about? Isn't everything I do for you? I want to expand the foundation of the Vulture Palace 10-fold, 100-fold. Isn't it to pass on to you?" Wu Daozi was furious. "You're only doing this for yourself. And you clearly know that because of the evil spirit energy, plus that evil secret technique of yours, you'll live well even after I die," the Spirit Rabbit said. "So, no matter what you do, don't use my name." "Shut up." Wu Daozi was furious and slapped her in the face. However, when he slapped her, he regretted it and the strength was greatly reduced. But he still slapped Spirit Rabbit's delicate and beautiful face. Suddenly, half of her delicate face became red and swollen, and blood flowed out of the corner of her mouth. Then, the room fell into a dead silence. Spirit Rabbit didn't cry, Nor did she say anything like, "You hit me." She just gently rubbed her face and then lowered her head in silence. Wu Daozi's face twitched and his hands trembled. "You'd better reflect on yourself here. And after Yang Dingtian dies, you'll probably wake up." With that, Wu Daozi snorted and turned to leave. Just like that, time passed day by day. The Tiando League's 2 million army had basically surrounded the southern barbarian continent. Then, the two armies were in a standoff. However, Queen Hai Xen was still guarding the southern barbarian continent's queen's new city. As long as she was there, the Tiando League's army couldn't attack and destroy the Snakeman Empire's army and cities in the southern barbarian continent, let alone land on the southern barbarian continent. If this situation continued, even if Yang Dingtian defeated Wu Daozi in the martial contest, it would be useless as long as Wu Daozi was eliminated. Queen Hai Xen would immediately find Wulingzi and continue the previous alliance and cooperation. Then, Yang Dingtian's plan to completely take over the Vulture Palace would be completely ruined. At this time, Yao Li had already contacted the resistance army and had begun to rescue Queen Poise's confidants. She had even begun to assassinate the higher-ups of the Snakeman Empire. Through the fastest energy-flying object, Queen Hai Xen received important information about the Snakeman Empire, but she remained unmoved. Until one day, the Snakeman Empire sent a message that made Queen Hai Xen unable to sit still. Queen Poise's body has been stolen and disappeared. Instantly, Queen Hai Xen was shocked. Then, she no longer cared about the southern barbarian continent and the Vulture Palace and immediately returned to the Snakeman Empire as quickly as possible. Queen Poise's body had been stolen. This meant that someone wanted to dig out Queen Hai Xen's heart and lungs and destroy her foundation. Queen Hai Xen finally left, and Yang Dingtian's strategy could finally continue. Soon, the 2 million army had completely surrounded the eastern part of the southern barbarian continent. And the day of Yang Dingtian and Wu Daozi's martial arts competition was quickly approaching. Everyone's attention was on the Apocalypse Academy. Chapter 880. Stealing Queen Poise's body was personally done by Yang Dingtian. Because Queen Poise's body was in the core energy formation of the Naga Empire's pyramid. Even a half-step saint would be instantly killed by this energy array. For the sake of this energy formation, the Sea Heart Queen had used countless crystals, darkness crystals, and who knows how many thousand-year-old demon cores to form this incomparably powerful energy formation. And the key to this energy formation was always with Queen Hai Xen. It could be said that no one in this world could pass through this energy formation and steal Queen Poise's body. Of course, Yang Dingtian was an exception because he could create a spatial door and directly pass through the energy formation. Yao Li had already caused chaos in the Naga Empire, but Queen Hai Xen was still overseeing the southern barbarian continent, unmoving. Seeing that the date of the duel was getting closer and closer, Queen Hai Xen didn't have any intention to leave the southern barbarian continent. Therefore, Yang Dingtian had no choice but to use this plan and touch the thing that Queen Hai Xen was most afraid of and cared about the most. As expected, after hearing this news, Queen Hai Xen first felt that it was impossible. It was absolutely impossible. No one could pass through that energy formation. Then her heart jumped. Someone wanted to dig out her roots and overturn her Naga Empire. So, how could she care about the southern barbarian continent? She flew to the Naga Empire as fast as she could. The news that Yang Dingtian was going to duel with Wu Daozi at the Heavenly Edict Academy instantly spread throughout the world. Now, the Council of Light had almost controlled all of the human countries, so it could be said that this duel was definitely the focus of the world. More than 2 years ago, Wu Daozi had come to the Heavenly Edict Academy to provoke, defeated all the experts, and trampled on the dignity of the Heavenly Edict Academy. At that time, Yang Dingtian had said that he would get back the dignity that had been trampled on, so the students of the Heavenly Edict Academy didn't have to be dejected. Therefore, even though there were still a few days before the start of the tournament, all the students of the Heavenly Edict Academy were already boiling with excitement. Even the entire Shijing was in a state of frenzy. Apart from Yang Dingtian's family, his comrades, and the students of the Heavenly Edict Academy, the ones who were most concerned about this tournament were none other than Yang Dingtian's family, comrades, and the students of the Heavenly Edict Academy. Without a doubt, it was Wulingzi and Vulture. Even though Wulingzi had told Yang Dingtian not to interfere with the Vulture Palace, he had given up the position of the Lord of the Vulture Palace willingly. But in the depths of his heart, he really wanted Daozi to die. He also heard that the reason Yang Dingtian and Wu Daozi had a martial arts competition was to bring order to the chaos and eliminate the rebels. Although this was Yang Dingtian's bad intentions, Wulingzi's heart still moved. Of course, all the excitement and anticipation only lasted for a moment. Because in Wulingzi's heart, it was impossible for Yang Dingtian to win, and it was also impossible for him to die. Sigh, no matter what? Yang Dingtian, that little thief, offended us too much, so it's good that he's dead. Wulingzi said. Vulture said, is there a possibility that Yang Dingtian will win, just like the duel with Wu Yuming? Everyone didn't think Yang Dingtian would win, but he still won? Wulingzi glanced at Vulture and said, do you think it's possible? That day, when Yang Dingtian and Wu Yuming dueled, the difference in cultivation between them was like heaven and earth. It was only because Wu Yuming foolishly used the dark profound flame that she lost. Do you think that Wu Daozi will give Yang Dingtian a chance? Do you think that Yang Dingtian's dark profound flame can do anything to Wu Daozi? Vulture thought for a while and shook his head. No. Then Vulture said, but if Yang Dingtian knows that he's not a match, why did he accept the challenge? Wulingzi said, because he promised the Heavenly Edict Academy that he would defeat Wu Daozi and regain the Heavenly Edict Academy's dignity. Moreover, it's more of a trick to drive a wedge between me and Wu Daozi. He used millions of troops to surround the southern barbarian continent and fought with Wu Daozi. He's trying to force me to take a side and create an established fact. It's best if I directly start a coup in the Vulture Palace and take back the position of the Lord of the Vulture Palace. Then Wulingzi sneered. Does he think I'm stupid? That I'll be so easily intimidated by him and board his broken ship that's doomed to silence? I've thought about it very clearly. How long can Wu Daozi live? At most, 30 or 50 years. When he dies, the Vulture Palace will still be able to stop me. Even that little girl, Ling Tuo, will be able to sit firmly on the position of the Vulture Palace Lord. So when the time comes, the Vulture Palace will still be mine. Vulture looked faintly at Wulingzi and said, you can endure humiliation for 50 years, but what about me? Wulingzi said, I can endure, why can't you? Remember, evil ways are no longer the evil ways of the past. They already have the power to overturn the heavens. If a mere Yang Dingtian wants to stop them, it'll be like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Vulture was silent for a moment and said, that day, I asked him to help me, but he didn't agree. Why did he fight with Wu Daozi later? Wulingzi's eyes turned cold. He said coldly, you think he did it for you? Don't think too highly of yourself. At this time, in his eyes, you're even worse than a prostitute. You only have one path, and that is to serve young Master Dongli well. Only then will your luck turn for the better in the future. Just wait, just wait. Tomorrow, you'll get the news of Yang Dingtian's defeat. Then, the terrifying army of millions in the Tiando League will retreat with their tails between their legs. Yang Dingtian, this clown, wants me to fall into his trap? He's dreaming. Vulture's beautiful face twitched slightly, but she didn't say anything else. At this time, the entire Shijing was packed with people. Although Yang Dingtian said that he would definitely win, the Council of Light still made the most thorough preparations. All the first-line and second-line legions of the Council of Light stopped resting and entered a state of battle readiness. As long as they gave the order, they could easily suppress any rebellion or move to any place. The whole of Shijing had been turned into a huge military camp. Millions of soldiers had entered, completely preventing any possibility of causing any trouble. In the hearts of all the higher-ups of the Council of Light, regardless of whether Yang Dingtian would win or not, he definitely wouldn't die. Even if he lost, it wasn't a big deal in the eyes of the higher-ups of the Council of Light. At most, the southern barbarian continent's strategy would fail temporarily and be delayed. Moreover, Yang Dingtian didn't become the leader of the Tiando League through martial arts. But just in case, they still made all the necessary preparations. At this special time, those vassals who had been defeated, as well as the secret forces of the Sky Demon City, the Naga Empire, and Vulture Palace in the Tyando League, all had to be careful. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. If they moved slightly, it would be a disaster. At this time, the Council of Light would rather kill the wrong person than let them go. It could be said that if Yang Dingtian were to win, it would be fine. But if he were to lose, those people and factions that had a criminal record would be done for. They would basically be dead for sure. Because if Yang Dingtian lost, the entire Tyando League would enter a state of high alert. Then, no matter what, a medium-sized war would definitely be fought. They had to divert everyone's attention from the martial arts competition and regain morale in other places. Therefore, at this time, even Sky Demon City and the soldiers on the city walls were all pulled down. They even directly closed the city gates, afraid that any action would cause the Tyando League to misunderstand. Vulture Palace. Wu Daozi had entered Shijing. This news instantly blew up in the entire Shijing. Everyone's hearts were suddenly in their mouths. It could not be helped. Wu Daozi was too ostentatious. He led a few hundred black vultures in a sharp knife formation and directly entered Shijing. Countless pairs of eyes saw him. Moreover, there were thousands of Tyando League's air forces surrounding him as he entered Shijing. Yang Dingtian entered Shijing in a rather low-key manner. He rode a black vulture to the south alone and entered Shijing's Tianqi Academy. The Tianqi Academy did not even have a holiday that day. They still attended classes and practiced as usual. Less than a quarter of the higher-ups of the Council of Light were present. The rest were guarding the various places. The martial arts competition would be held at noon. At this time, there was still about 2 hours before noon. Yang Ningning specially applied for leave to accompany Yang Dingtian. Dad, I am now a 5-star black martial master. I am the strongest person under the age of 15 in the Tianqi Academy, Yang Ningning said proudly. That's amazing. Yang Dingtian said, but even if you are a 5-star black martial master, you shouldn't talk back to your mother. She only knows how to complain. Little Ningning pursed her lips and said, she only knows how to be a well-behaved young lady every day. It would be best if I could be like Aunt Yen Yen and be just passable in martial arts. Don't fight and kill. Just wait to marry a good husband. This kind of thinking is too useless. Yang Dingtian said, then what do you think is useful? Little Ningning thought for a while and said, Aunt Song Lihua and Aunt Song Chunhua are quite useful. Of course, they are not good enough. At least, they should be like Dongfang Bingling. Yang Dingtian was instantly speechless. His daughter's heart was truly extraordinarily big. Yang Dingtian said, but when you grow up and become powerful, maybe the world will be peaceful. Little Ningning said, Dad, don't worry. The world will never be peaceful. Even if we win the Doomsday War, who knows how much trouble there will be. Moreover, when the time comes, you can't have to draw your sword and charge into battle for everything. As your daughter, I should fight for you. Also, Yang Li, Yang Yi, Yang Yichen, and little Ah Cho will be left to us in the future. Then little Ningning thought for a while and said, forget it. Little Ah Cho will definitely be a playboy in the future. We can't count on him. Yang Dingtian really felt like his children had grown up. He patted her head and said, that's great. Then I'll wait to enjoy your blessings. Of course. Yang Ningning said. Then, Yang Ningning finally couldn't help but whisper, Dad, that Wu Daozi is a half-saint. Can you win? This was everyone's worry. Could Yang Dingtian win? Yang Dingtian looked at Yang Ningning seriously and said, Girl, over the years, I've been through countless martial arts competitions and duels. Almost every time, it looked like I was bound to lose. I was weaker than the others. Every time, I didn't have any confidence to win. But this time is an exception. This time, I'll definitely win. Immediately, Yang Ningning was completely relieved. She happily hugged Yang Dingtian's arm and continued to chatter. However, they were no longer talking about big matters. Basically, they were talking about small matters. For example, she was already a tyrant under the age of 15 in the Heavenly Edict Academy. She already had many underlings under her. Moreover, she had never publicly said that she was Yang Dingtian's daughter. Yang Dingtian looked at her delicate little face and then stood up to measure her height. Yang Ningning immediately stood in front of Yang Dingtian excitedly and even tried to stand on tiptoe. The little girl had grown up. She was almost as tall as Yang Dingtian's nose. On Earth, she should be about 1.6 meters tall. Immediately, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but ask, "Girl, are there any boys in the academy who like you?" Talking about this topic, little Ningning wasn't shy at all. She said, "At first, there were many. They were all 15 or 16-year-old brats. Each and every one of them thought that they were extraordinary and were extremely childish. After that, no one dared to like me?" Yang Dingtian was speechless. "You're only 13 years old, yet you call others brats." He smiled and asked, "Why don't others dare to like you? Did you hit them?" "Of course not." Yang Ningning said, "After I became the boss of hundreds of students, they were ashamed of themselves and didn't dare to like me." Yang Dingtian immediately smiled. Under this kind of happiness, time flew by. Yang Dingtian had never stayed with little Ningning for so long. It really made her excited. For 2 to 4 hours, she was like a little bird, chattering nonstop. Until a voice came from outside. "Sect Master, it's time for the competition." Yang Dingtian got up and walked outside. As he walked, he said, "Girl, do you want to go out with me or wait for Daddy here?" Ningning's little face paled. Although she had always been bold, she really didn't dare to watch. However, waiting here quietly made him even more anxious and fearful. I'd better go out and watch." Little Ningning said, "Anyway, Daddy, you said that you would definitely win." Yang Dingtian nodded solemnly and said, "Yes, I will definitely win." There was already a sea of people around the Heavenly Edict Academy's martial arts arena. Some of the higher-ups of the Council of Light and all the students of the Heavenly Edict Academy had taken a break to watch the competition between Yang Dingtian and Wu Dozi. Yang Dingtian had just walked onto the martial arts arena when countless gazes instantly focused on him. They were filled with anticipation and endless admiration. At this moment, Yang Dingtian was the hope of everyone present. Although it didn't matter if he lost, for the young students present, if Yang Dingtian lost, it would be a devastating blow to their morale. On the other side, Wu Daozi also slowly entered the arena. In the entire martial arts arena, the two of them were separated by 30 meters, quietly facing each other. Chapter 881. Mr. Wu Daozi, before the competition, do you need me to remind you of your promise? Yang Dingtian asked loudly. Wu Daozi said coldly, "If I lose, I will be exiled forever, return the position of the Vulture Palace Lord, grant my granddaughter freedom, and not be an enemy of the Council of Light." Yang Dingtian, "Then, will you keep these promises?" Wu Daozi said slowly, "I, Wu Daozi, will keep my word? Then I want to ask, what if you lose?" Yang Dingtian, "What if I lose? Do you still need to say it specifically?" Wu Daozi showed a cruel smile and said, "Yes, that's right. If you lose, I will never allow you to live in this world." As soon as these words came out, the faces of everyone present changed. "Well, enough chit-chat, let's start." Wu Daozi said disdainfully, "I really can't stay in this place for half a minute. The sooner it ends, the sooner I can go back to the Vulture Palace." The disdain in his words was undisguised. Yang Dingtian directly pulled out his Emperor-grade soul sword and said, "You are the elder, you go first." Wu Daozi said, "You are courting death, you go first. Of course, you can use the demonic spirit mist cloak, demonic spirit black armor, and guardian ring." Yang Dingtian, "Since it's a martial arts competition, I have already abandoned these things." Then Yang Dingtian said again, "Since you let me go first, it would be impolite to refuse." Yang Dingtian raised his sword and slashed at Wu Daozi. Swish! A soaring sword light slashed at Wu Daozi's head. Wu Daozi didn't pull out his sword and directly blocked with his scabbard. Boom! In an instant, Wu Daozi's scabbard turned into ashes. His whole body shook violently, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Suddenly, Wu Daozi showed a look of complete disbelief and hissed, You have broken through to the semi-sage realm?" Yang Dingan said. How would I dare to fight with His Excellency Wu Daozi without breaking through to the half-saint level? Impossible! Impossible! Wu Daozi exclaimed in shock. The gap between a ninth-order Grandmaster and a half-saint is as wide as a chasm. There's no way you could have made a breakthrough in just half a year. Yang Dingtian didn't say anything else. The truth was right in front of him, and he had no choice but to admit it. At this moment, the spectating Heavenly Edict Academy and the other academies were completely excited. His Excellency Yang Dingtian had broken through to the half-step saint realm and became the first half-step saint in the human world. What kind of miracle was this? His Excellency Yang Dingtian was not even 30 years old. Was His Excellency Yang Dingtian really omnipotent? After a long time, Wu Daozi recovered from his shock and sneered. So what if you've broken through to the half-saint realm? You've been to the Forbidden Continent's illusory realm before, so you should know that a day inside is equivalent to 100 days outside. Do you know how long I've been cultivating inside? Even if you've broken through to the half-saint realm, it's still a dead end. Then, Wu Daozi shook lightly, and the powder of the scabbard on the sword suddenly flew away, revealing the incomparably sharp blade. Now you'll take my sword, Wu Daozi said coldly. Then he gathered all his profound qi and slashed down at Yang Dingan. Swish! Suddenly, this sword light seemed to pierce the sky, completely covering the light of the two suns. Yang Dingtian suddenly used the demon spirit demon fire energy shield, completely enveloping himself in an instant. Boom! Wu Daozi's shocking sword light slashed on Yang Dingtian's body. With a loud noise, a shocking light suddenly burst out. In an instant, the demon spirit demon fire energy shield on Yang Dingtian's body suddenly shattered and turned into ashes. The remaining profound qi energy suddenly entered Yang Dingtian's body. Yang Dingtian only felt his body shake violently, and then he spat out a mouthful of blood. At the same time, the entire huge martial arts arena was smashed to pieces. This Wu Daozi had a full cultivation of rank 16 and above. He was no longer a half-saint. But so what? It was only rank 16. It was impossible to kill Yang Dingtian. Even defeating him was an extravagant hope. Yang Dingan looked at the dueling platform that had turned into powder and said slowly, Your Excellency Wu Daozi, this place is too small. How about we go to the sky and fight to our heart's content? Wu Daozi said, Fine, so as not to affect your shrimp soldiers and crab generals. Then, the two people suddenly turned into two streams of light and flew directly to the sky above tens of thousands of meters. Boom, 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 boom. In the air, the two people slashed crazily and intertwined crazily. Suddenly, a series of loud noises came from the sky. It was as if the entire sky was completely torn apart, and the two suns were completely invisible. When it came to top experts, it was more of a naked exchange of blows, a collision of profound qi. In an instant, the two people exchanged hundreds of moves. Although each move was earth-shattering, tearing the sky, neither side could do anything to the other. Boom! After the last sword light was cut, the two people stopped the meaningless sword light slashing. Tens of thousands of meters apart in the air, they continued to confront each other. Then, Yang Dingtian's body was like a cannonball, suddenly bombarding toward Wu Daozi. And Wu Daozi also turned into a stream of light and fiercely rushed over. This kind of duel was very similar to Queen Lan Qi and Bu Yikao in New Naga. The two people were completely like comets hitting the earth, with incomparably astonishing speed and incomparably astonishing light, slamming together. Boom! There was a loud noise that shook the sky. At the place where the two people collided, all the trees on the nearest mountain peak were instantly shattered. The originally lush green mountaintop was suddenly emptied and turned into a patch of gray. The light of the two people's collision almost became another sun. Everyone suddenly looked at the sky desperately in horror, fearing to see Yang Dingtian fall, or even be smashed to pieces. The light gradually dissipated. Both of them were safe and sound. Even if it was a pure energy collision, even if Yang Dingtian did not have any dark spirit black armor, he was completely safe and sound. That's right, Wu Daozi was the 16th level, but so what? Yang Dingtian's Xian veins and Qi Si had been transformed by the Naga royalty Xian veins. Yang Dingtian had a powerful dark Xian fire that could devour excess energy, and there was no need for the dark dragon to come out. After the collision, the distance between the two people was less than a foot. The sword light could not be slashed, nor could the energy collision. Yang Dingtian immediately brandished his sword and slashed wildly at Wu Dozi. Dang 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 dang. After who knows how many years, Yang Dingtian once again surged with the pig-killing swordsmanship. But at this time, when he used the pig-killing swordsmanship, he was no longer as stupid as before. Because the speed was already extremely fast, slashing out countless swords every second. The naked eye was not interested at all, only a mass of light and shadow could be seen. In an instant, Yang Dingtian slashed out countless swords. In terms of swordsmanship, Yang Dingtian was number one in the world. However, Wu Dozi's cultivation was slightly better, so his speed was also slightly better. Thus, in a close combat, the two were still unable to do anything to each other. Dang, only a crisp sound was heard. Suddenly, the sword in Wu Daozi's hand flew out in half. His treasure sword was cut in half by Yang Dingtian. Although his treasure sword was also a rare treasure, the blood-black gold sword, compared to Yang Dingtian's near emperor-grade soul sword, it was still a little inferior. After slashing countless swords, it finally couldn't bear it and directly shattered. Taking advantage of this short period of time, Yang Dingtian's sword was like lightning, and every move was fatal, slashing towards Wu Daozi's body. Puff 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 puff. Suddenly, blood splattered everywhere. Wu Daozi's body was slashed dozens of times by Yang Dingtian, and blood spurted out wildly. Swoosh! Wu Daozi suddenly exploded with profound qi, and his entire body quickly burst back a few thousand meters. Looking down at the blood all over his body and countless deep wounds, he suddenly raised his head. Suddenly, a green light flashed, and the wounds all over his body instantly disappeared. His body that was riddled with scars suddenly recovered as before. It's just relying on the sharpness of the treasure sword. What kind of ability is that? Wu Daozi sneered. Yang Ding, Senior Wu Daozi, if not for the evil spirit energy, you would have been torn into pieces by now. So what? Wu Daozi sneered. Gently wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Wu Daozi said to Yang Dingtian, Yang Dingyan, your combat strength is far beyond my imagination. You are really worthy of being the number one person in the Taekwondo League. But unfortunately, you met a possessor of evil spirit energy. You are still a dead end. Then Wu Daozi suddenly roared. In an instant, his entire body suddenly exploded, turning into more than a dozen doppelgangers. That's right, there were more than a dozen Wu Daozi, and they suddenly formed a formation and directly surrounded Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian had seen this move before. At that time, when Zhu Qingzhu was fighting against a group of heroes, he had once used this move, but his doppelgangers were far less than Wu Daozi in front of him. Whoosh 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 whoosh. More than a dozen Wu Daozi doppelgangers frantically swept towards Yang Dingtian. Of these dozen doppelgangers, only one was his real body, and the rest were formed by evil spirit energy, completely unable to harm him. Moreover, although the evil spirit doppelgangers were doppelgangers, they still had the power to attack, and it was a pure spiritual attack. Whoosh 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 whoosh. More than a dozen Wu Daozi, more than a dozen broken swords, madly attacked Yang Dingtian, and it was impossible to know which one was real and which one was fake. Yang Dingtian alone was completely unable to avoid the attacks of more than a dozen Wu Daozi. Immediately, Yang Dingtian was hit more than a dozen times. Although it was all the energy attacks of the evil spirit doppelgangers, it still made his profound veins tremble, and blood spurted out. The real Wu Daozi was hiding among these dozen doppelgangers, waiting to give Yang Dingtian a fatal blow. Once hit, it would be absolutely fatal. Therefore, Yang Dingtian absolutely could not be passive, because it was simply impossible to guard against. Suddenly gritting his teeth, the sharp sword in Yang Dingtian's hand slashed fiercely. Clap 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 clap. An incomparably huge devil sky-splitting lightning struck down incomparably ferociously. In an instant, an incomparably huge bolt of lightning suddenly streaked across the daytime sky, crazily bombarding the bodies of more than a dozen Wu Daozi. One had to know, the evil spirit doppelgangers were completely unafraid of the devil sky-splitting lightning, but Wu Daozi's real body found it very difficult to resist it. But the cunning Wu Daozi made all the doppelgangers have the same reaction, trembling violently in the air. Hurting the doppelgangers was useless, they had to attack the real body. The evil spirit doppelgangers were completely invincible, completely impervious to any harm. But now, using the devil sky-splitting lightning, Yang Dingtian was also unable to distinguish which was the real body and which was the doppelganger. At this time, an incomparably strange scene appeared in the sky. More than a dozen Wu Daozi were currently trembling desperately, all floating in the air, motionless. This was the real Wu Daozi recovering. Once it completed recovering, it would launch a fatal blow at Yang Dingtian. Must find the real body. Yang Dingtian suddenly released the million spirit demon fire's resentful spirits, instantly enveloping the entire sky. Let countless resentful spirits go and search, which one was the real Wu Daozi. But countless resentful spirits all fluctuated together, intensely fluctuating. Regardless of whether it was the real Wu Daozi or the doppelgangers, countless resentful spirits all had the same reaction. Still unable to distinguish, Yang Dingtian fiercely gritted his teeth and suddenly used his trump card. Swoosh! The demonic spirit that lost its limbs suddenly flew out of the spatial ring, pouncing out like lightning. This was a rank 19 demonic spirit, Yang Dingtian's pet. Could it find the real body? Yang Dingtian didn't know, because the attraction of the evil spirit energy to him was completely fatal. So it was very likely that it would pounce on the evil spirit doppelganger. However, the source of the evil spirit energy was within the main body, so it was very likely that it would pounce on the real body. Swoosh! The rank 19 demonic spirit suddenly pounced on one of the Wu Daozi. And that Wu Daozi immediately had a horrified look in his eyes. It's you, Wu Daozi, you're finished. Yang Dingtian sneered, and the devil sky-splitting lightning hacked down crazily at him. Because he had to support more than a dozen doppelgangers, the cultivation of Wu Daozi's real body was greatly reduced, and he couldn't withstand Yang Dingtian's full-strength devil sky-splitting lightning. Chapter 882. Yang Dingtian was still a step too slow. When the incomparably shocking devil sky-splitting lightning struck Wu Daozi's head, all of his clones had already disappeared, and all of the evil spirit energy had returned to his body. Pa! The huge lightning struck Wu Daozi. With a flash of blue light, his entire body was quickly charred black, and then restored to its original state even faster. Because the moment his true body was recognized, he had already recalled his evil spirit clones. At this time, the devil sky-splitting lightning could no longer hurt him at all. Wu Daozi looked at the rank 19 devil spirit lying on his body in surprise, revealing an incomparably horrified expression, and said in a trembling voice, Yang Dingtian, you're really amazing. You can actually keep a devil spirit of nearly 10,000 years as a pet. But so what? It's just a small trick. What can you do to me? Then, the two people quietly confronted each other again. Both sides had exhausted all means, but neither could do anything to the other. Yang Dingtian stared at Wu Daozi angrily. Damn this evil spirit energy, it was actually so difficult to deal with. If not for this second-class evil spirit energy, even if Wu Daozi was rank 16, he would have died under his sword. Wu Daozi looked at Yang Dingtian and sneered, What other means do you have? Just use it. Yang Dingtian gritted his teeth and began to release the mystic fire. Bush. Million spirit demon fire. Bush. Devil spirit demon fire. Bush. Void splitting fire. Of course, he wasn't going to create the mystic fire lightning because the mystic fire lightning was too slow. Wu Daozi could easily dodge it. He was just purely using the mystic fire. 3 mystic fires began to condense quickly, spinning, and jumping in Yang Dingtian's palm. Wu Daozi's face was slightly aghast, and then he suddenly gritted his teeth. Suddenly, the evil spirit energy emerged from his body, forming a powerful energy shield, enveloping his entire body. Go! Yang Dingtian's mystic fires smashed out like lightning. Whoosh! 3 rapidly spinning mystic fires smashed into Wu Dozi's body with incomparable ferocity. Boom! There was another earth-shattering explosion, and another dazzling light, like the light of a nuclear explosion. Even though they were tens of thousands of meters away, the people on the ground could not see anything on the battlefield and were temporarily blinded. Half a minute later, the light gradually faded. Wu Dozi was still floating in the air, safe and sound. Haha. Wu Dozi laughed coldly and said, Yang Ding, you've run out of tricks, right? Your 3 heaven and earth obsidian flames are extremely powerful. However, you still can't break my evil spirit energy barrier, ha. Yang Dingtian immediately gritted his teeth. He originally thought that he would be able to win this battle, and it would be an easy victory. But the power of the evil spirit was far beyond her imagination. Of course, lightning energy could ignore the evil spirit energy shield. However, the mystic flame lightning's attack was too complicated. Furthermore, the location was fixed. As long as one avoided that location, they would be safe. Then, Wu Dozi looked at Yang Dingtian and said, Now it seems that you can't do anything to me, so your plan is going to fail. If you haven't found another way, I won't play with you anymore. I'm going back to my vulture palace. Wu Dozi, didn't you say that you want to kill me and tear me to pieces? Yang Dingtian asked. Why are you leaving in a hurry now? Wu Dozi laughed and said, You know you can't do it, but you're a fool. I can't kill you, but what if I join forces with Queen Hyexin? What if I force Willingzi to join me? You'll still die. Then, how about you take one more move from me before you leave? Yang Dingtian asked. Is it Mystic Flame Lightning? It's useless. You can't hit me at all. Wu Daozi laughed. No, it's not Mystic Flame Lightning. It's another more mysterious cultivation method. Do you want to try it? Yang Dingtian said. Haha, I don't believe you have any other cultivation method. There is no energy in this world that is more powerful than the evil spirit energy. Wu Daozi said, Let's try it. However, if you can't do anything to me with this move, then I'm very sorry. I won't play with you anymore. If I still can't defeat you with this move, then this competition will be a draw. Yang Dingtian said. Wu Daozi raised the evil spirit energy shield again and said with a smile, What moves do you have? Come at me. Yang Dingtian slowly closed his eyes. This move was definitely going to be a sure win. Otherwise, if he let the tiger return to the mountain, all his previous efforts would be wasted. And Wu Daozi, who already felt Yang Dingtian's threat, would definitely do everything possible to force Willingzi to join hands and eliminate him. One Wu Daozi, Yang Dingtian was not afraid. But if Willingzi was added in or even Queen Hyexin, then Yang Dingtian would find it very hard to escape too. Looking at it now, Wu Daozi's evil spirit energy shield was virtually completely unsolvable. Unless the attack energy far exceeded Wu Daozi's cultivation. But this was impossible. Yang Dingtian was only rank 15, while Wu Daozi was rank 16. The Mystic Flame Lightning's position was fixed. It was simply impossible to hit it. Therefore, the method that Yang Dingtian thought of was the Darkness Mystic Flame. That's right, it was the Darkness Mystic Flame. Of course, just relying on the Darkness Mystic Flame was useless. Because the Darkness Mystic Flame's energy level was even lower than the evil spirit energy. It was completely helpless against the evil spirit. Yang Dingtian's idea was to use the Darkness Mystic Flame to carve out a dark vortex. A true black hole should be able to devour all energy. Then would it also envelop the evil spirit energy? When the evil spirit energy was inside Wu Daozi's body, Yang Dingtian still had no way to deal with it. But releasing it outside the body and turning into an energy shield, then could the vortex black hole created by the Darkness Mystic Flame directly devour the evil spirit energy shield completely? Regardless of whether it succeeded or not, Yang Dingtian had to give it a try. Opening both eyes. Yang Dingtian's left hand once again summoned 3 heaven and earth mystic flames, which began to spin, becoming incomparably terrifying energy. His right hand summoned a powerful darkness mystic flame. But it was not a whole one that was summoned out, but strand by strand, piece by piece. Immediately, these darkness mystic flames formed an incomparably beautiful energy formation. This incomparably complicated and incomparably beautiful energy formation began to spin and rotate at lightning speed. Instantly, it became an extremely profound and mysterious vortex black hole. Hu! Yang Dingtian suddenly shot this vortex black hole out. Wu Daozi was immediately shocked and immediately dodged like lightning. However, this was impossible to avoid. The vortex black hole followed like a shadow, shrouding above his head. Whoosh 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 whoosh. The mystic flame black hole formed by the darkness mystic flame became faster and faster, more and more powerful. It crazily devoured all energy. Wu Daozi was shocked to find that the evil spirit energy on the surface of his body was rapidly dissipating, quickly disappearing into the black hole vortex above his head. Wu Daozi moved frantically, desperately trying to avoid this vortex black hole, but it was completely useless. The vortex black hole that was devouring kept following closely behind. In the blink of an eye, the evil spirit energy shield on his body became thinner and thinner. In the end, all the evil spirit energy shield was swallowed up cleanly. Of course, it did not disappear. It was still closely connected to Wu Daozi, but it was swallowed into another isolated space. Immediately afterward, Wu Daozi was even more shocked to find that the dark vortex above his head was even going to completely swallow him. He suddenly flew into a rage, circulating all the mystic chi energy in his body. Suddenly, the feeling of devouring ended. Because his energy level exceeded Yang Dingtian's cultivation, and also exceeded the maximum devouring power of this energy black hole, the vortex black hole could not successfully devour his body. But for Yang Dingtian, this was enough. The three mystic fires in his left hand were rapidly rotating, bombarding Wu Daozi's body. Wu Daozi desperately dodged, quickly dodging. However, the three mystic fires quickly chased after him like shadows. Finally, they slammed into Wu Daozi's body. Boom, boom, boom. Once again, like a nuclear explosion, Wulingzi's body was hit by the energy of the three mystic fires. Almost instantly, his entire body was turned into a mass of charcoal, and then immediately turned into ashes. His handsome and majestic body directly turned into powder. But even so, the evil spirit energy still protected his heart, head, mystic veins, and chi. His entire body was completely turned into ashes. But the most important parts of his body were all protected by the evil spirit energy. The dark vortex could suck away his evil spirit energy shield, but it could not completely suck it away from his body. So, even if he was smashed to pieces, even if he turned into ashes, the evil spirit energy would still make him recover quickly, as good as new. To hell with the evil spirit energy, to hell with the evil spirit energy. At this time, Wu Daozi's body became incomparably strange, leaving only the mystic veins, heart, chi, and head under the protection of a mass of blue light. His whole body seemed to have completely become a mass of energy. Sure enough, under the protection of the evil spirit energy, his sword tip began to recover. First, the head, inch by inch, flesh and blood grew out again, eyes, nose, and even hair. However, because a large amount of evil spirit energy was blocked in the mystic fire black hole, the recovery speed became very slow. Only Wu Daozi's head was intact, and he slowly said, "Yes, Yang Dingnan, I have lost this battle." "Yang Dingnan, then you fulfill your promise." "Promise?" Wu Daozi slowly said, "What promise?" "Return Spirit Rabbit's freedom, return the position of Vulture Palace Master to Ling Chuzi, and exile yourself forever," Yang Dingtian said. "Ha ha ha." Wu Daozi laughed and said, "In your dreams, Yang Ding, I lost, but it doesn't mean that I will fulfill my promise. Don't you know that for a top expert, promises are complete farts?" Then, Wu Daozi began to gradually recover his neck, and said, "Not only will I not fulfill my promise, after returning to Vulture Palace, the first thing I will do is to force Wulingzi and contact Queen Hai Exan in the Snakeman Empire. The three of them will join forces to kill you. Of course, we can let Queen Hai Exan successfully borrow your seed first, and then kill you. You scourge, how can I let you live after humiliating me like this? Yang Dingyun looked at Wu Daozi and said slowly, you are even more despicable and shameless than Wolingzi. Despicable is the passport of the despicable. Haven't you heard of this saying? Wu Daozi said slowly, what can a noble person do? Can a noble person eat him? Yang Dingyun, kill me if you have the ability, and I won't take revenge on you like crazy. But you can't kill me. You can't do anything to me. I have second-grade evil spirit energy. I have an immortal body. Even if I'm smashed to pieces, I still can't die. After saying that, Wu Daozi laughed wildly. Yang Dingtian suddenly stepped forward, aimed the sword in his hand at Wu Daozi's head, and slashed down. Wu Daozi's head was easily cut off. However, it was only the bones and flesh. Its brain and profound veins were still protected by the evil spirit energy, and had even become a kind of pure energy body. It was impossible to destroy. This was a second-grade evil spirit. It was completely different from third and fourth-grade evil spirits. Although a third-grade evil spirit had life, it only protected the profound veins, qi, and brain. A second-grade evil spirit actually transformed the profound veins, qi, brain, and heart into an energy body. It was completely indestructible. Pa 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 pa. Yang Dingtian's devil sky-splitting lightning crazily struck Wu Daozi's brain energy body. However, it was still completely safe and sound. Yang Dingtian was really going crazy. Their evil spirit energy was so abnormal. How could they fight it? How could they fight it? Haha. The flesh and blood of Wu Daozi's head was still slowly growing. Yang Dingyun, I'm really happy to see you flustered and exasperated. Just you wait. Wait for me to bring Wolingzi and Queen Hai Xian over and tear you into pieces. I'll kill your Council of Light and Tiando League until chickens and dogs are in chaos. Haha. Wu Daozi's wild laughter could be heard clearly within a few hundred miles. Not only the Heavenly Enlightenment Academy, but also the Western capital heard it clearly. This voice made one's heart tremble with fear. Yang Dingtian looked at Wu Daozi and slowly said, I originally just wanted to banish you to the edge of the world and not ask about the matters of the human world. But now you are actually so crazy and shameless. Then don't blame me. Haha. Wu Daozi laughed wildly and said, what can you do to me? What can you do to me? Yang Dingtian said, yes, I can't kill you. However, I can imprison you forever, banish you to the dark world, banish you to the death continent. Then Yang Dingtian suddenly released the void-splitting fire. Boom! The void-splitting fire was released, and it grew bigger and bigger. The black and white flames completely merged into a transparent fire, and then it continued to expand. Finally, the void-splitting fire tore open an energy door, leading to the first dark world, the Death Continent spatial door. Go, there will never be any life there, and you will never be able to come out. Yang Dingtian said sternly, you only have yourself to blame. Yang Dingtian firmly locked onto Wu Daozi's energy body while slowly enveloping the void-splitting gate. Wu Daozi struggled desperately in panic, but now he had to use all his evil spirit energy to restore his body. Most of the evil spirit energy was swallowed by the vortex, so he couldn't avoid Yang Dingtian's demon spirit demon fire at all. No, Yang Ding, let go of me. I promise you, I admit defeat. I will exile myself to the edge of the world, and I will hand over the position of the Vulture Palace Master. Yang Ding, let me go, I will return the spirit rabbit to you. Wu Daozi desperately begged for mercy and screamed desperately. When he saw that Yang Dingyun was indifferent, he scolded with extreme resentment. Yang Ding, you dare to banish me to the world of death. Once I come out, I will carry out the craziest revenge on you. Your women, your children, I will kill all of them. Haha, Yang Ding, let me go. Yang Dingtian used all his celestial qi to push the void-splitting gate and slowly moved forward. Just like this, Wu Daozi crazily cursed and begged for mercy. The void-splitting gate suddenly passed through Wu Daozi's energy body. Whoosh! The strange and terrifying Wu Daozi instantly disappeared without a trace, and was completely exiled to the Death Continent without any life. If no one opened the dark door of the Death Continent, he would never be able to come out. Yang Dingtian slowly landed on the shattered arena of the Heavenly Edict Academy, and then raised Wu Daozi's bloody head high. Suddenly, the entire Heavenly Edict Academy was in an uproar. Long live Sect Master Yang Dingtian. The entire Shijing was in an uproar. Chapter 883. Yang Dingtian had won. Even though no one was able to see how he had won, he was able to do so. In fact, most of the people present were unable to comprehend a battle of this level. However, this did not stop them from cheering and going crazy. Their leader, Yang Dingtian, had only spent 2 years to become a half-saint and had defeated another half-saint. This was a miracle. No, this was a miracle. How could they not go crazy? Long live sect leader Yang Dingtian. The entire Tianqi Academy and Shijing had become a sea of excitement. After the victory, Yang Dingtian did not make a speech. He only glanced at all the students of the Tianqi Academy, then flew into the sky and flew toward the southern barbarian continent. Dongfang Minmi and the other higher-ups of the Council of Light also rode on their demon eagles and flew toward Zhongjing. There would definitely be a celebration banquet in the Tianqi Academy and Shijing tonight. However, Yang Dingtian did not have time to attend. Dongfang Minmi and the others did not have time to attend either. The southern barbarian continent had entered the most dangerous stage. Thousands of battleships of the Council of Light and tens of thousands of air troops equipped with Phoenix-level missiles had surrounded the eastern part of the southern barbarian continent, especially the bases and cities built by the Snake People Empire. The Snake People Empire's army did not back down at all. Nearly 1 million half-human soldiers were stationed behind the various defense lines. The higher-ups of the Vulture Palace, who were loyal to Wu Daozi, also led the 200,000 Black Vulture army to confront the Council of Light's army in the sky. Wu Daozi's order was very clear. As long as the Council of Light fired a cannon or a crossbow arrow, it would be considered a declaration of war. The Black Vulture army of the Vulture Palace counterattacked completely and did not back down at all. Therefore, the commander of this battle, Zhuo Qingqi, was extremely nervous. He constantly ordered all the troops to be careful and not to fire accidentally. Everyone was eagerly waiting for the results of the Tianqi Academy's tournament. They were waiting for Yang Dingtian's final order. If Yang Dingtian won, then the fight would start immediately. If Yang Dingtian lost, he would immediately withdraw his troops. All of a sudden, the army of the Council of Light completely ignored the crazy humiliation and provocation of the warriors of the Naga Empire and remained motionless. You lowly humans, what are you waiting for? Start the war, start the war. Waiting for Yang Dingtian? Yang Dingtian is dead for sure. In a moment, Wu Daozi will deliver his head. Yang Dingtian isn't just going to die. Even those beautiful wives of his are going to be divided up by others? Really? Then let's hurry up and go. We might even be able to grab 1 or 2. I heard that they are all peerless beauties. After you are tired of sleeping with them, you can kill them with a knife, cook them alive, and eat them. I guarantee that they will be very tender. Ha! What? You are willing to cook them and eat them? I guarantee that I won't be tired of them for 100 years. The half-human race of the Naga Empire, especially the werewolf race, had a deep hatred for Yang Dingtian. Their words were extremely vicious. The army of the Council of Light was so angry that they trembled all over. They wished that they could immediately blow this group of beasts into meat paste. However, under Zhuo Qingqi's orders, everyone remained motionless and prepared to fight at any time. However, they absolutely could not allow any mishaps to occur. I wonder if the tournament over there has already ended? Vulture could not help but ask. So what if it has ended or not? The result is the same anyway. Yang Dingtian is bound to lose. Wolingzi said indifferently, "Stop dreaming. That little thief Yang Dingtian is no match for that old thief." Vulture said, "Then do you think that Yang Dingtian will die?" Wolingzi sneered, "What? You still can't bear to part with him?" Vulture said, "He better win. If he can't, then he will die." Wolingzi sneered, "You will be disappointed. Yang Dingtian can't beat Wu Daozi, but he won't die either. He is very lucky. Vulture was silent for a moment, then said, "Is there no chance of winning? If he wins, what are you going to do?" "I have never thought about it because it is impossible. Even Yang Dingtian himself has never thought of winning." Wulingzi said, "This is just Yang Dingtian's strategic blackmail. His biggest goal is to drive a wedge between me and Wu Dozi. He wants to lure me into a fight with Wu Dozi. However, his foolish plan will not succeed. On the contrary, he will suffer a great defeat and suffer a great fall in front of the world." Vulture sneered, "You want Wu Daozi to win that much?" "No, I want him to die. I am the person who wants him to die the most in this world. However, this is impossible." Wulingzi said, "If you want Yang Dingtian to win, the sun will rise in the west and the sea will flow backward. Just wait, Wu Daozi will be back soon. Yang Dingtian's millions of troops will soon retreat with their tails between their legs." At this moment, there was a sudden whistling sound from outside. This was the sound of an extremely fast-speed sonic boom. Then, there was a very familiar voice outside, saying loudly, "The master of the hidden sect, Yang Dingtian, has come to pay a visit to the master of the Vulture Palace, Wulingzi. Please come out and pay your respects." After Yang Dingtian's voice fell, Wulingzi did not come out. Instead, the other people of the Vulture Palace poked their heads out and looked around. Everyone in the Vulture Palace had no suspense about the result of the competition. They all thought that Yang Dingtian would lose without a doubt. However, they were still very concerned about the result. At least, they wanted to make sure that Wu Daozi had won. When Yang Dingtian's voice sounded, everyone in the Vulture Palace was shocked. How could it be Yang Dingtian's voice? Could it be that he had won? Impossible, absolutely impossible. Yang Dingtian was at most an infinite great grandmaster. He was still far from the half-saint. It was impossible for him to break through to the half-saint in less than a few decades. Moreover, their master Wu Daozi's cultivation was not only at the half-saint level, but he also had the evil spirit energy. Yang Dingtian would not only lose, but also die. However, it was really Yang Dingtian's voice outside. The first one to rush out was none other than Spirit Rabbit. The moment she rushed out, she was full of joy. She was really worried that Yang Dingtian would die. She really hoped that Yang Dingtian would win and stop her ambitious grandfather. However, after rushing out, the first thing she saw was Yang Dingtian, and the second thing she saw was her grandfather's bloody head. Suddenly, Spirit Rabbit's eyes turned black. The world was spinning, and she was completely unconscious. The two middle-aged women behind her hurriedly came forward to support her. Although Yang Dingtian felt guilty, he did not go forward. Gradually, more and more people flew out from various peaks and pavilions. In the end, almost all the masters of the Vulture Palace flew out. Hundreds of masters, the highest level of the Vulture Palace, were all here. They also saw the safe and sound Yang Dingtian and the bloody head in his hand. Yes, this was Wu Daozi's head. It was so vivid, majestic, and domineering that it made people shudder. Then, the whole Vulture Palace trembled completely. How is this possible? Yang Dingtian really defeated Wu Daozi, a half-saint master, and killed him. This was completely impossible. Even if the sun rose in the west, it was impossible for such a thing to happen. However, the fact was that it happened. Truly, everyone was completely and utterly shocked. All the masters of the Vulture Palace felt that their heads were exploding. For a moment, they could hardly think or react. Wu Daozi, who was so majestic and invincible before, who forced their ancestor Wulingzi to retreat, was now dead, and his head was cut off. This was completely related to their lives. One had to know that there were many people present who had betrayed Wulingzi and sought refuge with Wu Daozi. Now that Wu Daozi was dead, didn't that mean that they would be punished in the future? Finally, Wulingzi came out with Vulture. When he saw Yang Dingtian and the head in his hand, he still didn't dare to believe it even though the truth was right in front of him. He even shook his head vigorously as if he wanted to wake himself up. God, how is this possible? He just said that Yang Dingtian would only win if the sun rose in the west and the sea flowed backward. But now, Yang Dingtian really won. Suddenly, Wolingzi almost lost any ability to speak. Vulture was completely in ecstasy. Although she was curious about Yang Dingtian's ability to defeat Wu Daozi, she didn't care. She only cared about the result. Wu Daozi was dead. Great. Now, the Vulture Palace was back in the hands of her great-grandfather, which meant that it was back in her hands. She could call the wind and summon the rain in the Vulture Palace again. Those who had offended her and neglected her before would all be punished and punished. That bitch rabbit spirit was going to turn from a phoenix to a pheasant. Vulture was so excited that the blood in her body seemed to be boiling. She even felt like she was floating. This feeling was too good. Vulture, embark. I will take revenge. I will definitely take revenge. I won't let a single one of them go. Yang Dingtian directly came in front of Wolingzi and threw Wu Daozi's head to him. He said slowly, I have killed the traitor of the Vulture Palace. From today onwards, the Vulture Palace will set things right. Ling Chuzi is once again the master of the Vulture Palace. You are still the Grand Palace Master of the Vulture Palace. Do you have any objections? At this time, Wolingzi came to his senses and picked up Wu Daozi's bloody head. Yes, this was Wu Daozi. Whether it was his eyes or his expression, it was 100% Wu Daozi. Even if he turned into ashes, he would still recognize him. Wu Daozi was really dead. He was really dead. Wolingzi had looked forward to Wu Daozi's death countless times. He couldn't let him die in his hands, and he couldn't be suspected of anything. Otherwise, the evil ways would crazily take revenge. Now, Wu Daozi was killed by Yang Dingtian. This was almost the perfect ending. Then Wolingzi was shocked. He thought, the Temple of Annihilation won't think that I colluded with Yang Dingtian to kill Wu Daozi. Please don't. I must draw a clear line with Yang Dingtian. Suddenly, Wolingzi's face turned cold. No matter how wrong Wu Daozi is, he's still a member of the Vulture Palace. It's not up to you to discipline him. Now that you've killed him, you've killed a pillar of the Vulture Palace. You must give me an explanation. In order to draw a clear line with Yang Dingtian, Wolingzi really went all out. These few words were extremely harsh. Yang Dingtian's eyes turned cold. He said slowly, Your Excellency Wolingzi, are you also rebelling? Wolingzi said sternly, What rebellion? Yang Dingtian said, Don't forget, the Vulture Palace is still a member of the Council of Light and is under my leadership. Now, the Snake Men Empire's million troops have entered the southern barbarian continent without the Council of Light unifying them. Don't you think this is a rebellion? Wolingzi said loudly, This matter was caused by Wu Daozi alone. Yang Dingtian said, Good. Now, I want to destroy the Snake Men Empire's army invading the southern barbarian continent. Your Vulture Palace's Black Vulture Legion is actually blocking my path. Let me ask you one thing. When I attack the Snake Men Empire's army, are you going to attack? If you attack, it's a rebellion? After I wipe out the Snake Men Empire's army, I'll also slaughter the Vulture Palace. You dare? Big words don't slander. Wolingzi laughed. Yang Dingtian sneered. Even Wu Daozi, who has evil spirit energy, died in my hands. Do you think I can do it? Suddenly, Wolingzi felt a chill under his teeth and immediately shut up. Wolingzi, Yang Dingtian said coldly, We have more than 10,000 cannons, thousands of large-caliber missiles, and tens of thousands of Phoenix-class missiles aimed at your Vulture Palace and your Black Vulture Legion. Let me ask you one thing. Do you want to live, or do you want to die? If you want to die, I'll give the order to wipe out the 200,000 Black Vulture Legionnaires and raze the Vulture Palace to the ground. Then I'll lead a dozen or so unbounded Grandmasters into the Vulture Palace, and use my martial arts skills to slaughter your Vulture Palace. Yang Dingtian's words were filled with bloodthirst and undisguised murderous aura. You want to die, or you want to live, Yang Dingtian said, his voice booming like thunder. Your choice. All of a sudden, the entire Spirit Vulture Palace shuddered. As for Wolingzi, his face was ashen, and he was trembling. This wretched old villain was both greedy for life and afraid of death. In private, he was willing to drop to his knees. But in front of all the experts in the Vulture Palace, it was impossible for him to admit defeat. Seeing that Wolingzi wasn't saying anything, Yang Dingtian chuckled coldly, then unleashed the million-spirit demon fire, devil spirit demon fire, and voidrend flame, all of which were primal chaos type. They shot up into the air toward Wolingzi's mountain. Then they slammed into each other. Rumble! It was like the explosion of a nuclear warhead. The sky seemed to be ripped apart, and the two suns lost their light. A special type of flame that surpassed the 19th order exploded. Even from tens of thousands of meters away, the experts present felt a shockwave so powerful that they couldn't even breathe. Then, the mountain peak that Wu Lingzi lived in was directly torn apart, smashed into pieces. The enormous mountain was flattened by hundreds of meters. Such power was enough to destroy heaven and extinguish the earth. Wu Lingzi was completely shaken. Chapter 884. This lone peak was Wu Lingzi's residence. It was the symbol of his supreme position in the Vulture Palace. Even when Wu Daozi took over, he did not deprive Wu Lingzi of his position. But now, Yang Dingtian had actually shaved off the entire mountain peak by relying on his strength. How shocking was this? Wu Lingzi's entire body was completely numb. He was confident that he was stronger than Wu Daozi. The reason why he did not start the battle was that he was afraid of the evil ways behind Wu Daozi. He also felt that Wu Daozi would not live for long and that the Vulture Palace would eventually fall into his hands. But he really could not cut off a mountain by 1,000 feet. But Yang Dingtian had done it. So, how could he not be shocked? As for the remaining experts of the spiritual Vulture Palace, they were completely divided. They even had a vague feeling that the world was about to change. And the key was that Yang Dingtian was so powerful, but he was not even 30 years old yet. How powerful would he be in the future? It was completely unimaginable. Perhaps, the world was really going to change. After Yang Dingtian performed a shocking attack, he said to Wu Lingzi, "My army has already surrounded the Snake People Empire's army in the southern barbarian continent. They are just waiting for my order to fire. If you want your Black Vulture Corps to be wiped out, then stay here and don't move. Otherwise, come with me and bring the Black Vulture Corps back to the Vulture Palace with Wu Daozi's head." After saying that, Yang Dingtian flew toward the east of the southern barbarian continent without another word. Wu Lingzi was definitely the kind of person who would not leave until he was led. After hearing Yang Dingtian's words, he snorted coldly and flew toward the east of the southern barbarian continent with Wu Daozi's head in his hand. The eastern battlefield of the southern barbarian continent had entered the most tense state. When the generals of the Naga Empire saw that the Council of Light Corps did not dare to make a move, their provocations became more and more frenzied. At first, it was just verbal humiliation. Then, some male half-humans took out huge objects and peed on the Council of Light Legion. Then he used the most vulgar and vicious words to profane Yang Dingtian's women and family. In the end, he decided to roleplay. He found a few extremely ugly female half-human race and put them on women's clothes. Then he wrote the names of Yang Dingtian's wives on them. Then, these ugly female half-humans played the role of Yang Dingtian's wives. On the city wall, they flirted with the Council of Light Legion, took off their clothes, and did countless indecent things. Then, they made many male half-humans take turns to do those dirty things with them. Suddenly, the people from the Council of Light Legion were so furious that their stomachs were about to explode. He really wanted to rush up and tear these beasts to shreds, tearing their bodies into 1,000 pieces. However, Zhou Qingqi floated in the air and did not move. Therefore, the Council of Light Legion was full of murderous intent, but they did not move. When the Naga Empire saw that the Council of Light Legion was so tolerant, they despised them even more. Finally, there was a human that appeared out of nowhere, and he actually looked 30 to 40% similar to Yang Dingtian. After putting on makeup, he looked even more like Yang Dingtian. Then, they dressed him up like a clown and humiliated him on the city wall. The human who played the role of Yang Dingtian cried and begged for mercy. He shouted, "I'll give you my wife, my mother-in-law, and my butt. Don't kill me, don't kill me." At first, the Black Vulture Legion of the Vulture Palace was very respectful of Yang Dingtian and the Council of Light Legion. However, when they saw how the Radiance Parliament's army was being humiliated and didn't retaliate, They started to look down on Yang Dingtian and laughed heartily. They had even joined the group that was humiliating Yang Dingtian. When Yang Dingtian arrived at the scene, the drama on the city wall of the Queen's new city of the Naga Empire had reached its climax. The fake Yang Dingtian, who had been stripped of his clothes and was being humiliated, had his head chopped off by the axe. Blood spurted out, and his head fell from the city wall hundreds of meters away. His body was still being humiliated. Then the entire Naga Empire went completely crazy. They waved their swords and opened their giant crossbows. Kill, kill, kill. The Naga Empire's barbarian army, who had been set ablaze, did not care anymore. They directly shot arrows at the fleet of the Council of Light. Yang Dingtian flew directly to the coastal city wall of the Queen's new city like a flash of lightning. In an instant, countless arrows were shot at him. They were like a storm in dark clouds. Yang Dingtian suddenly opened his palm. Suddenly, tens of thousands of arrows were frozen in the air, motionless. It was as if a movie had been paused. Then, Yang Dingtian clenched his fist. Tens of thousands of arrows were instantly crushed in the air and turned into nothingness. Yang Dingtian was back. Seeing this scene, all the anger in the hearts of the 1 million troops of the Council of Light were swept away. All their worries were gone. Zhuo Qingqi breathed a long sigh of relief. Yang Dingtian's return meant that he had won the competition with Wu Daozi. Then, Wolingzi and many experts of the Vulture Palace flew over. Wolingzi saw the 200,000 Black Vulture troops on his side and suddenly felt a little emboldened. He said to Yang Dingtian, "Your Excellency Yang Ding, you and I will mind our own business. The Naga Empire's garrison in the South Barbarian continent is the internal affairs of the Vulture Palace. I will naturally interfere. Please withdraw your troops and leave." Yang Dingtian stared at him coldly, full of disdain and contempt. He said coldly, "Either get lost or die. Don't force me to completely trample on your old face in front of everyone. Don't force me to slaughter your Vulture Palace and leave no one alive." His voice was very loud, and everyone heard it. Suddenly, everyone looked at Wolingzi. It was a great humiliation. The ancestor of the Vulture Palace was humiliated like this in front of hundreds of thousands of Black Vulture troops. It was absolutely a great humiliation. Wolingzi's face instantly lost all color. He really wanted to immediately give the order to fight to the death with Yang Dingtian. However, if he had the courage, he would have fought to the death with Wu Daozi. Yang Dingtian's bones would have been turned to ashes. This person was extremely proud, but he could also endure humiliation. He was really an extremely contradictory weirdo. Then, Yang Dingtian came to the front of Queen's new city and said loudly, "Who is the city lord of Queen's new city?" "It's me." Suddenly, a woman's voice sounded. It was another unfamiliar female Naga general. She was half an adult and only had a snake tail left. She had a bewitching face and a deep scar on her face, which made her originally gorgeous face look even more ferocious. Another Grand Master of the Naga clan, another Naga clan member who had broken through by force through evil means. However, Yang Dingtian firmly believed that there wouldn't be a second half-sage in the Naga Empire. This was because Queen Hai Xian didn't allow any Naga to be on the same level as her. Only when she broke through to the saint level would she allow her subordinates to become half-sages. Yang Dingtian spoke unhurriedly, "If you bring the half-human race and your clansmen and leave the South Barbarian continent under the surveillance of my Radiance Parliament, leave the human kingdoms and return to the Snakeman Empire, then everything will still be in time. Otherwise, don't blame me for disregarding my old relationship with Queen Hai Xian and exterminating all of you, bah. Lowly human." What answered Yang Dingtian was a mouthful of saliva that was as sharp as a sword. It directly spat at Yang Dingtian's face. Yang Dingtian flicked his finger lightly, and the poisonous snake's saliva instantly turned into ashes. Then he waved his hand and ordered, "Kill! Don't leave a person, a blade of grass, or a tree alive in Queen's new city." Yes, don't leave a person, a blade of grass, or a tree alive in Queen's new city. The supreme commander of this battle, Zhuo Qingqi, repeated Yang Dingtian's order word by word. Then he waved the order flag and roared, "Kill!" Boom 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 boom. Suddenly, the sky and earth completely changed color. The entire earth seemed to be completely torn apart by extremely fierce flames. On thousands of warships, tens of thousands of cannons were all fired. This wasn't an adjective, but a real simultaneous firing of tens of thousands of cannons. Hundreds of large short-range missiles suddenly whistled from the warships and smashed toward Queen's new city with long tails of flame. In an instant, it completely covered the sky. Countless cannons formed a metal rainstorm that completely covered the light in the sky. Just less than a minute later, countless cannons violently smashed onto the incomparably huge city wall. Boom, 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 boom. In an instant, the incomparably solid city wall that was like a mountain was completely torn apart like a child's toy. Boulders of thousands of kilograms and tens of thousands of kilograms were violently thrown into the sky. The half-human army on the city wall, regardless of whether they were werewolves or leopard men, no matter how agile or powerful they were all smashed into pieces. In an instant, all of them were smashed into pieces. Not to mention dying without a complete corpse, they were completely smashed into pieces. The incomparably huge Queen's new city that looked completely indestructible was completely as fragile as a flower in a storm. It was constantly being torn apart and smashed into pieces. And this simultaneous firing of tens of thousands of cannons was definitely not just once, twice, or even 8 or 10 times. It was never going to stop. Round after round, round after round. It was completely the most thorough, the craziest metal frenzy, the most complete storm of destruction. The incomparably arrogant and crazy half-human army that was previously incomparably arrogant and crazy couldn't even be seen, let alone counterattack. The terrifying giant crossbows placed on the city wall were instantly shattered, let alone counterattack. One round of tens of thousands of cannons, one round of tens of thousands of cannons. Just like that, like a rainstorm, they crazily smashed onto Queen's new city. In the beginning, they used Phoenix-level cannons with X crystals. Later on, they used cannons with ordinary crystals. In the end, they used intense gunpowder cannons as well as solidified fire oil and white phosphorus cannons. It was completely a devastating blow. It was a complete carpet bombing. Wolingzi in the Vulture Palace and the hundreds of thousands of Black Vulture troops were completely stunned. Even the ferocious Black Vulture, who didn't know what fear was, couldn't help but tremble at this moment. The scene of hundreds of thousands of cannons bombarding and exploding. No matter who saw it, even the Naga people, they would tremble all over. This was the first, most grand performance after the combination of science, industry, and crystal mystery. In this battle, the power that Yang Dingtian had in his hands was more than 1,000 times that of when he fought against Qin Chichi in Cloud Sky City. It was more than 100 times that of when he fought against Zhu Qingzhu on the sea. This incomparably shocking carpet bombing was only a small part of the production of the entire war machine of the Council of Light in these few years. The Council of Light had hundreds of secret munitions factories. If they were fully operational, they could produce more than tens of thousands of cannons in a few days. Wolingzi and all the masters in the Vulture Palace saw this scene. It was completely 2 waves of tremors. The ground within 100 miles was instantly turned into nothingness and instantly shattered into pieces. At this moment, there was only one sentence in Wolingzi's mind. The times have changed. The times have really changed. We are going to fall behind. At least in terms of war, it had been completely overturned. The only thing that Yang Dingtian hadn't overturned was the power of martial arts. But it should be soon. He wasn't even 30 years old, but he had already killed a half-saint expert. Moreover, it was a half-saint expert with evil energy. Suddenly, a strange thought appeared in Wolingzi's mind for the first time. Perhaps Yang Dingtian could really defeat the evil ways, defeat the Temple of Annihilation, and even defeat the Demon King Wenyan? Finally, the deafening bombing ended. The frenzied bombardment was over, and the carpet bombing was over. When the smoke gradually dissipated, everyone saw that the incomparably grand and huge city walls had long disappeared without a trace. The ground within 100 miles seemed to have been completely plowed by demons. Everywhere, it was distorted. Even the stones and soil were completely burned. Everywhere, there were distorted signs of being burned, because the Council of Light Corps had thrown hundreds of thousands of large-scale napalm bombs on this land. As for the densely packed half-human race army, those crazily clamoring half-human race army that looked incomparably powerful had disappeared. Even their corpses couldn't be seen. They were completely smashed into pieces. At this moment, a black shadow suddenly flew up from behind the queen. It was the main air force of the Snake People Empire, the Dark Bats. Tens of thousands of them flew into the air from 100 miles away and madly rushed toward the Council of Light Corps. Zhuo Qingqi smiled disdainfully and waved the command flag. In an instant, the Golden Condor Legion, numbering less than 1,000, charged forward with a whistling sound. Seeing that the Council of Light had only sent out 1,000 golden condors, the Bat Corps of the Snake People Empire suddenly roared. The people of the Vulture Palace were also shocked. This Council of Light was too arrogant. Even if you had small missiles, 1,000 golden condors rushing up was simply courting death. One must know that these dark bats were second only to the Black Vulture Corps, and they could also spray venom. However, when there were still 40 to 50 miles between them, 1,000 golden eagles and warriors heading north all carried small launchers. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. 1,000 of the latest Phoenix-level missiles with X-crystals were shot out. Their speed was as fast as lightning. It was impossible to see clearly with the naked eye as they whizzed past. Just a few seconds later, 1,000 Phoenix-level missiles violently hit the countless Dark Bat Corps. Boom! In an instant, the entire sky seemed to be torn apart. Chapter 885. Today's Phoenix-level missiles, regardless of the X-crystal content, were much higher than before. Moreover, the proportion of Wind-type and Fire-type demon cores had been changed, so the lethality had been doubled. Not only that, but there were also a considerable number of incendiary bombs. Even if the Black Vultures were touched by a little, they would not be spared. After the shocking explosion of thousands of Phoenix-level missiles, in an instant, a large space was emptied in the middle of the Snake People Empire's Dark Bat Army. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Then, the second and third wave of Phoenix-level missiles quickly came. After only 5 waves of attacks, less than half of the Snake People Empire's dense bat army was left. Under the command of the female Snake People General, the remaining bat-flying cavalry quickly dispersed. Once the targets in the air were scattered, it was no longer cost-effective to use Phoenix-level missiles. The lethality and cost-effectiveness would become very low. Thousands of Golden Eagle Army immediately changed their formation and formed a circle in the air at the fastest speed. Then, all of them put down their Phoenix-level missile launchers and replaced them with mid-sized crystal crossbows. After 2 years of development, the technology of mid-sized crystal crossbows had completely improved by leaps and bounds. The biggest breakthrough was the mass shooting. 10 corrosive poison arrows could be shot at a time, and they were shot out in a fan shape. Not only that, but the interval between each shot was also shortened by many times. More than 5 or 6 shots could be fired per minute. After thousands of Golden Eagle Army formed a large circular formation, they immediately rotated quickly in the air, waiting for the Snake People Empire's Bat Army to approach. The remaining 10,000 bats surrounded the Golden Eagle Army from all directions. Each bat was dozens of meters away from each other, and they were constantly changing their direction. They were getting closer and closer to the Golden Eagle Army. When they were 2,000 or 3,000 meters away, whoosh, 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 thousands of Golden Eagle Army began to shoot wildly. Each Golden Eagle Army to the north had 2 to 3 mid-sized crystal crossbows. So in each wave, there were tens of thousands of poison arrows shot out crazily. Moreover, this shooting did not have a standard aiming process. It was completely a whole action. The entire circular formation was constantly changing its direction. So, countless arrows were shot out from every direction. It was a complete coverage attack. Suddenly, a burst of poison arrows was seen in the air, like a rainstorm. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The rain of poison arrows was madly shooting. Every arrow here was poisonous. Currently, the Council of Light's team of mysterious warlocks had more than 10,000 members. As for poisons, it was the most thoroughly researched field. It could be said that other than the deep-sea Xian poison which was forbidden, countless other poisons had been researched and discovered. Moreover, the arrowhead of each poisonous arrow was plated with a layer of bloody black gold. That's right, the current Council of Light was rich to this extent. Even the arrows were plated with bloody black gold. It sounded shocking, but in the giant mine in the extreme south, besides Crystal X, there was also a large amount of bloody black gold. Moreover, every poisonous arrow was plated with bloody black gold, which sounded quite astonishing. But in reality, an ordinary piece of bloody black gold could be plated with 1,000 poison arrows. That's right, there were 1,000 of them, and they were just a thin layer on the outside. Before this was impossible because it was impossible to melt the bloody black gold. Only the mystic flame could do it. But the experts of the Council of Light couldn't use the mystic flame to melt the bloody black gold every day. This was all thanks to the warlock team of the Council of Light. They used Crystal X and various demon nuclei to build a large-scale reaction array. The temperature that this reaction array could release was actually not inferior to the earth fire generated by nature, or even higher. As a result, the forging standards of the Council of Light had completely increased by several levels. Now, how much bloody black gold did the Council of Light have in storage? Although it was very rare, with the power of the entire human kingdom, the current storage of bloody black gold was an astronomical figure. Therefore, every warrior of the Demon Vulture Legion and the Demon Dragon Legion were equipped with bloody black gold swords and bloody black gold armors. All of this became a reality. The poisonous arrows of the Air Ace Legion were plated with bloody black gold, and all of them were plated with bloody black gold. And the arrows plated with bloody black gold were highly toxic, which was researched by the Warlock team. The power of such poisonous arrows was completely unimaginable. In short, as long as they were hit, they would basically die. No matter where they were shot, even if they hit the claws of the winged cavalry, they would basically die. Therefore, the bat-winged cavalry of the Snake People Empire was completely destroyed. Although the hit rate of the poisonous arrows was very low, the dark bats of the Snake People Empire were like raindrops, constantly falling. Moreover, the closer they got, the higher the chance of being hit. After only 15 minutes, the Bat Legion of the Snake People Empire had lost more than half of its members. At this time, they were only less than 2,000 meters away from the Golden Condor Legion. The commander of the Golden Condor Legion ordered, "Destroy them one by one." Suddenly, the Golden Condor Legion spread out, flying out in groups of 5 to hunt. The Bat Legion of the Snake People Empire sadly discovered that their combat power was not inferior to the Golden Condors at all. In fact, they were even stronger. Whether it was flying speed or combat power, they surpassed the Golden Condors. However, they couldn't get close to the Golden Condors at all. On each Golden Condor, there were a total of 3 medium-sized crystal crossbows. They didn't stop at all, and wave after wave of poisonous arrows were fired. Basically, 1 against 2, 3, or even 5 was no problem. Creak, creak. The Dark Bat Legion in the air screamed and fell continuously. Finally, after just half an hour, there were no longer any traces of the Bat Legion in the air. 1,000 Golden Condor Legions, armed to the teeth, had slaughtered tens of thousands of powerful Bat Legions. There were no casualties at all. Of course, the number of poisonous arrows fired by the Golden Condor Legion was in the millions. However, most of these poisonous arrows could be recovered from the battlefield and reused. In this battle, the Council of Light was completely showing off to the Vulture Palace. This was only the Golden Condor Legion and not the Demon Condor Legion. The trump card of the Council of Light, the Demon Condor Legion, was more than a few times more powerful than the Golden Condor Legion. Now, the Council of Light had a total of 4,000 Demon Condor Legions and more than 10,000 Golden Condor Legions. The remaining winged cavalry, together with the first-line aerial legion, totaled more than 100,000. If the second-line and third-line winged cavalry, such as the Griffins, were included, the aerial legion controlled by the Council of Light could exceed 1 million when necessary. It could be said that the Council of Light under the leadership of Yang Dingtian was more than several times more powerful than the Tiando League 200 years ago. If this doomsday battle was of the same level as the one 200 years ago, it could be said that the Legion of Doom would be annihilated before they could even penetrate 500 miles into the northwest mainland. It was even more likely that the Legion of Doom would not even be able to land. 1,000 Golden Condor legions equipped with Phoenix-grade missiles and medium-sized Crystal Group crossbows could destroy tens of thousands. How many would it take to destroy the hundreds of thousands of Black Condor legions in the Vulture Palace? 20,000? 30,000? How many aerial legions of the Council of Light were equipped with group crossbows and small rocket launchers? A full 100,000. Therefore, the Council of Light was now completely fearless of the Black Condor legions. They just could not bear to destroy everything. Because of these 200,000 Black Condors, the number of ace aerial legions of the Council of Light could instantly increase by tenfold. The way of war was completely different. The city lord of the Queen's new city, this ferocious female Naga general, looked at the half-ruined city, the countless half-human race soldiers whose bodies could not even be found, and the corpses of the dark bats all over the ground. She was instantly enraged. Yang Dingtian, you despicable person, shooting arrows in the air and firing cannons on the sea. What kind of ability is that? Hiding the head and showing the tail is not what a hero should do. If you are so capable, put your army on the ground and let everyone fight face to face. I will show you the power of the Naga Empire. Your army will definitely be smashed to pieces. Faced with such foolish words, Yang Dingtian did not even bother to refute. At this point, more than 80% of the Naga Empire's army in the southern barbarian continent had been annihilated. The remaining 20% were all behind the city, where the cannons could not reach. Moreover, most of them were cavalry, mainly the demonic wolf cavalry, the blood leopard cavalry, and the barbarian bull cavalry. The Naga Empire originally wanted to use these 100,000 cavalry as the final killing machine, waiting for the Council of Light's army to land so that they could determine the outcome of the battle. However, the Council of Light's way of fighting was completely incomprehensible to the Naga Empire. Before they landed, they had completely destroyed the city. Millions of astonishing cannons and incendiary bombs instantly wiped out the hundreds of thousands of powerful half-human race soldiers from the ground. Now, the Naga Empire was only left with this last trump card, the 100,000 demonic beast cavalry. The commander on the battlefield, Zhou Qingqi, suddenly waved the flag signal. Following his command, Li Muqiu said, "Whoosh whoosh 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 whoosh." One by one, black dots suddenly rushed into the sky from the warships. A total of 10,000 golden condors rushed into the sky and charged toward the demonic beast cavalry of the Naga Empire behind the city. Suddenly, the entire sky was densely filled with the golden condors. There was only one warrior on each of the golden condor legions' backs, and the rest were all square objects. All of them were incendiary bombs, and they were poisonous fire incendiary bombs. When they burned, not only could they not be extinguished, but they would also release poisonous smoke. Therefore, these 10,000 golden condors and warriors were all wearing special gas masks. The 10,000 golden condors quickly flew over the demonic beast cavalry of the Naga Empire. The 100,000 heavy cavalry completely covered the sky and earth, and even birds could not cross them. They covered dozens of miles. Therefore, there was basically no need to aim. Whoosh 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 whoosh, countless poisonous fire incendiary bombs suddenly fell from the backs of the 10,000 golden condors like raindrops. The demonic beast cavalry of the Naga Empire on the ground was shocked when they saw this, and they immediately fled in all directions. However, it was useless. After countless poisonous fire incendiary bombs fell to the ground. Boom 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 boom. They suddenly exploded, and then the area within dozens of meters was instantly engulfed by green flames. Each incendiary bomb was a huge wall of fire. Tens of thousands of poisonous fire incendiary bombs exploded at the same time. Suddenly, the area within dozens of miles was turned into a sea of fire. These poisonous fires were very, very terrifying. Once touched, there was no way to extinguish them, and they would continue to burn. Even if they were wearing armor, they would be directly burned through alive. Even if the flames were only the size of a palm, they could not be extinguished. They would directly burn into the flesh, burning into the body. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The Golden Condor Army was constantly hovering in the air. Countless incendiary bombs were completely like raindrops, constantly falling to the ground. Yang Dingtian could be sure that the incendiary bombs dropped by the Council of Light's Golden Condor armies attack this time far exceeded the scale of the U.S. Air Force's air raid on Tokyo during World War II. And it was not just dozens of times, but hundreds of times. Such an astonishing scale of air raids within dozens of miles. That could be said to be completely barren. No matter how powerful the Naga Empire's demonic beast cavalry was, it was impossible for them to escape. No matter how fast they could not be faster than the Golden Condors. Moreover, a poisonous fire incendiary bomb fell, and the area within dozens of meters was all covered in flames. Within hundreds of meters, there was all poisonous smoke. Each Golden Condor threw down not one or two, but dozens of them. Therefore, in the end of the battle, there was no movement on the battlefield at all. Because the ground within dozens of miles was all covered in flames, and the area within hundreds of miles was all covered in thick smoke. Under such a carpet attack of poisonous fire incendiary bombs, it was impossible for any of the demonic beast legions to survive. In half an hour, the 10,000-strong Golden Condor army had thrown down more than 500,000 poisonous fire incendiary bombs, which were tens of thousands of tons. Then, following Zhuo Qingqi's order, all the Golden Condor army turned around and whistled back. One by one, they landed on the large warships in an orderly manner. That's right, Yang Dingtian's Chaotic Worlds version of the aircraft carrier battle group had been completely formed into an army. In terms of scale and number, it had completely defeated the United States aircraft carrier battle group. Even if all the aircraft carriers on the Earth's plane were added together, there were not as many aircraft carriers as the Council of Light. After the Golden Condor army withdrew, Song Chunhua suddenly flew into the sky, and then whistled. Then, from a special warship, a beautiful living phoenix flew out. It was a heavenly fire demonic phoenix that was dozens of meters in size. This thing had been devouring magma in the crack of the northwest continent for several years. It had devoured all the magma in the crack of the northwest continent for thousands of miles, and now it had completely become a behemoth. It whistled, flew to the battlefield, and plunged into the raging fire. It was not here to kill, but to clean up the battlefield. Devour like crazy. Wherever it passed, all the green poisonous fire was completely devoured. Although the fire was poisonous, it did not reject it. Those flames that could not be extinguished completely disappeared after being devoured by it, and even the ground instantly became cold. In just a quarter of an hour, the poisonous fire on the ground for dozens of miles was completely devoured by it. Only a little green seeped out of its body from the fiery red. Its body also grew from dozens of meters to hundreds of meters in size. After devouring, it returned to the army of the Council of Light and became smaller and smaller. In the end, it was less than a meter in size and landed on Song Chunhua's shoulder. At this point, the battle of the southern barbarian continent was over. The million-strong army of the Naga Empire in the southern barbarian continent was completely wiped out. This was a true annihilation. The entire process of the battle was completely over in less than half a day. As for the million-strong army of the Council of Light, only a little more than 10,000 troops were mobilized. Other than the crazy bombardment at the beginning, only the Air Force was mobilized. The ground troops were not mobilized at all. Not only that, but all the ace troops were also not mobilized. Even so, the Council of Light still fought a battle with close to zero casualties. In fact, this battle still felt like using a cannon to kill a mosquito. There was no need to use so much strength at all. However, Yang Dingtian saw this battle as a live-fire exercise, and they were getting closer and closer to the Great War of Extinction. This was a very precious live-fire exercise. Facts had proven that the Council of Light's new way of warfare, the air dominance tactics and artillery coverage tactics proposed by Yang Dingtian, were very, very effective. Especially in large-scale battles, their power was endless. This proved that in the new era of warfare, the army of the Council of Light had earth-shattering combat power. Finally, taking advantage of the aftermath of the shocking victory, Yang Dingtian directly ordered the battleships to approach the southern barbarian continent and the army to disembark. Immediately, under the shocked and unwilling gazes of the people in the Vulture Palace, the million-strong army of the Council of Light landed in the southern barbarian continent. From now on, the last piece of land in the human countries was completely in the hands of the Council of Light. Chapter 886. Seeing that the Council of Light's army was about to land on the southern barbarian continent, Wulingzi was anxious. He stepped forward and said, "Your Excellency Yang Dingon, I'm very grateful for your help in eliminating the Naga Empire's invading army. In that case, you should leave the rest to the Spirit Vulture Palace." Yang Dingtian glanced at him and said, "Most of the Naga Empire's army has been eliminated. However, the Naga Empire doesn't just have the Queen's new city in the southern barbarian continent. There are many castles and half-human soldiers left, as well as countless half-human slaves. How can I just give up like this? Of course, I have to completely eliminate the Naga Empire's forces in the southern barbarian continent." Wulingzi said, "Leave this to us." Yang Dingtian said, "If I leave it to you, will you attack the Naga Empire's army?" "Of course." Wulingzi said, "As long as you withdraw your army, I'll find a way to completely eliminate the Naga Empire's military power." Yang Dingtian immediately said, "Good, it's very good that you have this ambition." Then, Yang Dingtian went directly to the Vulture Palace's Black Vulture army and pointed at one of the Vulture Palace experts. "You're called Spirit Crane?" This was a middle-aged man. He was slightly startled and said, "Yes, I'm Spirit Crane." Yang Dingtian knew this person. The Council of Light's intelligence had highlighted this person's importance. First, his fiancée had been snatched away by Spirit Rhinoceros as a concubine, and his right arm had been broken at that time. Therefore, this person had a lot of resentment toward Wulingzi. Moreover, after his arm was broken by Spirit Rhinoceros, he was directly expelled from the position of the third commander of the Black Vulture army and exiled to the southern barbarian continent to catch savages. It could be said that he was extremely down and out. Therefore, people from the Council of Light had already started to contact him early on, preparing to instigate him to defect. However, before the instigation really started, Wu Daozi took over. After Wu Daozi took over, he began a purge, promoting Wulingzi's haters and opponents. This Spirit Crane was one of the first few names on the list. Of course, he had immediately pledged his loyalty to Wu Daozi, and thus became the third general of the Black Vulture Legion, in charge of 10,000 Black Vultures. After this Spirit Crane regained his position, he had publicly expressed his dissatisfaction with Vulture and Wulingzi many times. Furthermore, he had wantonly roped in high-ranking officers who were dissatisfied with Wulingzi in the Black Vulture Corps. Therefore, no matter if it was Wu Lingzi or Ling Jiao, they both hated him to the bone. Daozi was finished, and Wulingzi was back in power. He was definitely going to retaliate. Basically, he would not be able to survive. Since Wulingzi wanted to destroy him, Yang Dingtian would protect him. Yang Dingtian patted him on the shoulder and said, "Old Palace Master Wulingzi said that he wanted to help the Council of Light Legion eliminate the remnants of the Naga Empire. I think you are suitable. Lead your 10,000 Black Vulture Legion and help the Council of Light eliminate the remnants of the Naga Empire." Spirit Crane was stunned, and then he immediately understood that this was his best and only chance to save his life. He immediately nodded loudly and said, "Yes." "Return to the team," Yang Dingtian said. Following Yang Dingtian's order, Spirit Crane led his 10,000 Black Vulture Legion and immediately flew toward the battlefield. Wulingzi was so angry that his whole body trembled. This was too much. This was too much. Yang Dingtian actually tried to poach him in front of everyone. He immediately said coldly, "Who dares to go? Without my order, who dares to go? Everyone, stop. If you dare to take another step forward, you will be executed immediately." Yang Dingtian's eyes narrowed. he slowly said to Wulingzi, "Wulingzi, you are not the master of the Vulture Palace yet. And even if you do, you will hand over the Vulture Palace master to Ling Chuzi." Then, Yang Dingtian raised the Vulture Palace master's token in his hand and said to Spirit Crane, "You can enter the battlefield." Spirit Crane was not a fool. He knew that even if he stopped now, he would die. He immediately gritted his teeth and led his Black Vulture Legion to join the Council of Light Legion. Of course, a small part of his 10,000 Black Vulture Legion did not choose to enter the battlefield. Instead, they stayed in the air. However, Yang Dingtian did not care. Spirit Crane was just an example. One must know that after Wu Daozi took over, he cleaned up the entire Vulture Palace. All the key positions were replaced. Therefore, after Wulingzi regained power this time, he would definitely clean up again. When everyone was in danger, Yang Dingtian would become their life-saving straw. Wulingzi was so angry that his whole body trembled. He pointed at Yang Dingtian and said coldly, "You, don't go too far." Yang Dingtian turned around and ignored Wulingzi. With such a great victory, who could stop the Council of Light Legion from landing? It was impossible. Unless Wulingzi ordered the entire Black Vulture Legion to attack. But would Wulingzi dare to do so? Not even if he was given 10 guts. Moreover, even if Wulingzi dared to do so, these Black Vulture Legion officers would not dare to do so. They would be courting death. On the contrary, the Black Vulture Legion officers who were originally in danger felt lucky. The Council of Light Legion's army entering the southern barbarian continent might be a good thing. Oh no, this was definitely a good thing. The landing of 1 million soldiers would take a very long time. Of the 2 million soldiers on the battlefield, only the 1st Legion of Zhongjing would return to Zhongjing. The rest would be stationed in the southern barbarian continent. In particular, the southern barbarian continent's army, including the fleet, would be stationed in the southern barbarian continent. This was because the southern barbarian continent's defense zone was established for only one purpose, and that was the southern barbarian continent. Once the southern barbarian continent was obtained, the southern barbarian continent would be meaningless. This was because there would be no enemies in the entire south. As for Yang Dingtian, he did not leave the southern barbarian continent and return to Zhongjing. Instead, he entered the Vulture Palace again. This was because he was going to preside over the great ceremony of bringing chaos to the Vulture Palace. He was going to use a grand ceremony to return the position of Vulture Palace Lord to Ling Chuzi. Of course, whether it was Wulingzi or Ling Chuzi, they did not welcome Yang Dingtian to preside over this ceremony. This was because their hearts were following the evil ways, not Yang Dingtian. However, damn it, the Vulture Palace Lord's token was in Yang Dingtian's hands. Without this token, the position would not be legitimate. Therefore, they could only hold their noses and let Yang Dingtian preside over this great hall. Moreover, Wulingzi was a weak-hearted person. Under strong pressure, he would half refuse and half accept anything. Of course, the Vulture Palace Lord's token had been destroyed in the battle between Yang Dingtian and Wu Dozi. The one in Yang Dingtian's hands was a fake, but it could also be passed off as the real thing. The Council of Light had been plotting to take over the Vulture Palace for a long time. Therefore, the Warlock team had long made many fake Vulture Palace tokens. In fact, this token was very difficult to imitate. The Warlock team of several hundred people had used countless crystals and methods. Who knew how many treasures had been scrapped? Until recently, they had barely managed to make a fake token that could pass off as the real thing. However, they still could not achieve 100% consistency. However, since the real token had been destroyed, this 99.9% of the token had become the real thing. Moreover, Wulingzi was a petty person. He was worried that Yang Dingtian would hand over the position of Vulture Palace Lord to Spirit Rabbit. That would be troublesome. Therefore, the whole process at the Great Hall seemed a little funny and strange. Ling Chuzi had no enthusiasm for this position. Because even if he sat on the Vulture Palace Lord's seat, he would be a puppet. Wulingzi was a little excited. The power of Vulture Palace had finally returned to his hands. However, this great hall was actually presided over by Yang Dingtian. He was really sick of it. One must know that in the past, Yang Dingtian was nothing. He could crush him with one finger. He would not even look at him in the eye. Now 5 or 6 people had climbed over his head. However, this did not hinder Yang Dingtian's enthusiasm at all. In this great hall, the Council of Light had given him a lot of face. All the higher-ups of the Council of Light's high command, the sovereign, and the city lord were all present. There were dozens of people, which completely accounted for half of the people present. Moreover, these higher-ups of the Council of Light were very enthusiastic. Almost everyone held the hands of the higher-ups of Vulture Palace, expressing their infinite closeness. The meaning behind their words was very clear. They were all one family, and they all worked for the Council of Light. They must not be estranged. In Yang Dingtian's speech, he directly pulled the Vulture Palace into the highest ranks of the Council of Light. Moreover, he emphasized again that Ling Chuzi's position in the Council of Light's high command was second only to Yang Dingtian, Dongfang Minmi, and Zhuo Qingqi. He was directly ranked fourth, the fourth big shot in the world. Moreover, Yang Dingtian very generously handed over many important positions. For example, the southern barbarian continent's defense zone was to be readjusted. The highest commander appointed was a great elder of the Vulture Palace. Many important positions in Zhongjing and the western continent were also handed over to some of the higher-ups of the Vulture Palace. Half of the important positions in the southern barbarian continent's defense zone were handed over to the higher-ups of the Vulture Palace. All of a sudden, the higher-ups of the Vulture Palace were both surprised and delighted. They were surprised, of course, because of Yang Dingtian's strategy of sowing discord. This was undoubtedly a strategy of sowing discord, especially when Wolingzi was so narrow-minded. Moreover, not long ago, these people had abandoned Wolingzi and pledged their loyalty to Wu Dozi. Therefore, this strategy of sowing discord was bound to succeed. They were delighted, of course, because the positions given by Yang Dingtian were very, very important. Previously, because of Wolingzi's closed-door policy, the higher-ups of the Vulture Palace were basically empty positions. Their range of activity was limited to a few hundred miles outside the Vulture Palace, and they did not have many subordinates. Therefore, they did not have much power. Now, Yang Dingtian waved his pen, and each of them had at least 100,000 troops, hundreds of miles of territory, and millions of people under their command. That's right, Yang Dingtian also directly announced a policy at the ceremony, which was the policy of naturalization. It was a pity that the land of thousands of miles in the southern barbarian continent was uninhabited. Therefore, the surviving barbarians must be protected. They could no longer be used to feed the black vultures. They must be allowed to cultivate and return to the embrace of civilization. Not only that, but more than 10 million people from the central continent must be immigrated to the southern barbarian continent. The southern barbarian continent must be built into a rich and prosperous paradise. This explained that the Vulture Palace would truly have thousands of miles of territory, tens of millions of people, dozens of cities, and endless wealth. Yang Dingtian's words completely swayed the hearts of the higher-ups of the Vulture Palace present. Damn, in the future, each of them would be a city lord, in charge of 100,000 troops and millions of people. Then, what was the point of being an elder of the Vulture Palace now? They had no more than a few thousand subordinates. Those who were quick-witted immediately realized that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Don't give Wolingzi a chance to purge them. Directly lean towards the Council of Light. Of course, Wolingzi and the others wanted to rely on evil ways. They feared the evil ways and felt that Yang Dingtian would undoubtedly lose in the Great War of Extinction. However, the ordinary higher-ups of the Vulture Palace did not know so much. They only saw how terrifying the combat power of the Council of Light was in the southern barbarian continent battle. They were completely invincible and undefeatable. In the face of Yang Dingtian's attempts to sow discord, rope, and poach, Wolingzi's heart was filled with hatred, but he still endured it. There will be a day when you, Yang Dingtian, will leave. When you leave, it will be time for me to raise my butcher's knife and cleanse you. Therefore, before the banquet was halfway through, Wolingzi left with the excuse that he was not feeling well. As soon as he was gone, the Council of Light's attempts to rope in and bribe became even more blatant. It directly made the higher-ups of the Council of Light excited. In the face of all this, Ling Chuzi did not have any reaction. And Yang Dingtian did not try to rope him in. This person's heart was completely gloomy, and there was nothing that could arouse his hot-bloodedness. This person was basically useless. Of course, such a person would make a good puppet. Since he could be Wulingzi's puppet, he might as well be the Council of Light's puppet. The banquet went on until late at night. Throughout the entire process, Yang Dingtian had been concerned about one person, and that was, of course, Spirit Rabbit. He had sent many people to look for her, but in the end, they did not find her. Because her appearance was needed at this banquet. When Yang Dingtian and her appeared as husband and wife, they could make the higher-ups who were loyal to Wu Daozi feel at ease and have the motivation to continue to be loyal. One had to know that Spirit Rabbit's status in the Vulture Palace was really like an angel. Halfway through the banquet, Ling Bai found the Spirit Rabbit in a forest. She had been there alone for a few hours. Yang Dingtian saw Spirit Rabbit in the small room at the back. She did not cry, but her little face was pale. In order to reassure the higher-ups who are loyal to your grandfather, the result will be better if you appear with me. Yang Dingnan, of course, all of this is up to you. Now that you are completely free, no matter what decision you make, I will support you. Spirit Rabbit finally raised her head and said, Sect Master Yang Dingnan, I don't blame you really. I can imagine that even if grandfather loses in the duel, he will definitely not fulfill his promise and hand over the position of Vulture Palace Master. Instead, he will think of ways to take revenge even more crazily. So, his death may be the best result. Then, Spirit Rabbit finally could not hold back her tears and said, But, this is only the rational answer. And everyone can't always be rational. They are often swayed by emotions, so I'm really sorry. I can't accept all of this calmly. Although I don't blame you, but it is really difficult for me to maintain a close relationship with you. Just now, I was alone in the forest and thought for a long time, just to persuade myself to let go of my obsession, but I really can't do it. Taking a deep breath, Spirit Rabbit said, Of course, I can appear with you to appease the higher-ups of the Vulture Palace. But after that, please forgive me. I may need to leave the Vulture Palace. Yang Dingtian instinctively wanted to tell Spirit Rabbit that Wu Daozi was not dead, but was completely exiled to the Death Continent. But soon he immediately gave up this idea. Because if this secret was leaked, the consequences would be unimaginable. Dongli had the void-splitting fire, so he could also go to the Death Continent and take Wu Daozi out. Once Wu Daozi was taken out, how crazy would he be? How unscrupulous would his revenge be? Even the heavens did not know. The consequences were completely unimaginable. This Wu Daozi was extremely paranoid, and even a little perverted. Even if there were evil ways of not killing, he would kill Yang Dingtian. If he was allowed to come out of the Death Continent, he would definitely use the most cruel means to retaliate against Yang Dingtian's family. With his half-step cultivation, who could stop him? So, to ensure that nothing went wrong, Yang Dingtian still needed to find Dongli. Even if he could not kill him, he had to completely cripple him. Yang Dingtian knew that if he told the truth that Wu Daozi was not dead, then Spirit Rabbit would be able to put down her heart and would not leave him. After taking a few deep breaths, Yang Dingtian still did not say it. He just said gently, Then there's no need. Don't make it difficult for yourself to do something you don't want to do. Although you are young, you are very smart. I believe that the decision you made must be smart. So, I respect your decision. No matter where you go, I hope you stay true to your heart and pay attention to your safety. Spirit Rabbit's tears fell, and she nodded and said, I will. Thank you, Sect Master Yang Dingtan. Then she said, Then I want to leave now. Yang Dingtan nodded and said, Okay. Suddenly, Ling Bai walked out and said, Sect Master Yang, I want to go with Rabbit. Yang Dingtian was stunned. He did not know why Ling Bai had such an idea. But thinking that she was not comfortable in the Vulture Palace, she was also not comfortable in the central capital. So he nodded. Ling Bai's cultivation was high, and Spirit Rabbit was smart. The two of them would be much safer together. So, Ling Bai and Spirit Rabbit took advantage of the night and left the Vulture Palace. Then a familiar figure came in and came behind Yang Dingtian. Like a snake, a small hot hand reached into Yang Dingtian's clothes. Ignore them. I will be your secret lover. This familiar voice became hoarse and seductive. Chapter 887. There was no doubt that this woman was Vulture. Tonight, she had been staring at Yang Dingtian, and even when Willingzi left, she did not pay much attention to him. And the departure of the spirit rabbit made him even happier. I promised you, as long as you can help me get rid of Wu Daozi, I will be your secret lover. Vulture's little hand caressed Yang Dingtian's face as she said in a hoarse voice. This voice reminded Yang Dingtian that Vulture was no longer a 16 or 17-year-old girl. She was almost 23 years old. But I really didn't expect that you could kill him. I didn't even dream of it. Vulture said, in fact, I didn't have any hope of killing him. A demi-saint with a second-class evil spirit is almost immortal. You actually managed to kill him. This result is too good, too wonderful. Yang Dingtian finally opened his mouth and said slowly, I killed him, it has nothing to do with you. I just thought that I killed him for the benefit of the Taekwondo League. Vulture said, yes, I know, but so what? I have already sworn in my heart that I will be the lover of whoever can get me out of this hell. Yang Dingtian said, don't you hate me to the bone? You can compromise with anyone in the world, but not me, right? Vulture said, people are childish and stupid sometimes, but people will always grow up. Compared to survival, everything else is useless. Don't you see my great-grandfather? In order to survive, he can do anything, endure any shame? Yang Dingtian was silent for a moment and said, he is no longer a normal person, why do you want to be like him? Hee hee. Vulture suddenly laughed and said, I am his daughter, of course I want to be like him. Then Vulture said, well, let's not waste this beautiful night. Yang Dingtian held her hand and said slowly, what do you want? Vulture thought for a while and said, I want to have a supreme position in the Vulture Palace. Next, I want to become the mistress of the Vulture Palace. Yang Dingtian shook his head and sneered, don't you know that the hearts of your people in the Vulture Palace are already gone? I know. Vulture said, but with your support, I don't believe anyone would dare to disagree. I know that the old ancestor's backer is no longer reliable. Yang Dingtian, what about Dongli? Isn't he your new backer? He has already disappeared for a long time. Vulture said, moreover, he is no longer the real Dongli. His will and mind have been completely controlled by a first-class evil spirit. Yang Dingtian, Dongli has a first-class evil spirit, so he can give you a second-class evil spirit. With a second-class evil spirit, you can break through to the Grandmaster level. Why not? Vulture's breath suddenly stagnated, and then her hot little hands became cold, full of infinite resentment. This lunatic, this pervert. I have paid a great price for a second-class evil spirit and suffered humiliation. But in the end his answer was still no, and he still refused. But he turned around and begged Dishibian to have a second-class evil spirit, but he was disdainfully rejected by Dishibian. Dishibian? Yang Dingtian was stunned. Yes, Dishibian. Vulture said, my great-grandfather dreamed of having a second-class evil spirit, so that he could live forever and have an invincible immortal body. But it was useless even if he knelt until his knees were broken. Not only did he refuse to give it to Princess Mudan, but he also refused to give it to Dongli. Even if he gave me, his biological daughter, it was useless. Dongli, that bastard, even refused to give me a second-class evil spirit. Yang Dingtian suddenly smiled and said, you want to be a now, but what if one day Dongli comes back and wants to give you a second-class evil spirit? What will you do? Vulture suddenly fell silent. Of course, she wanted to say that she would definitely ignore Dongli and be his lover wholeheartedly. But when she said this sentence, not only did Yang Dingtian not believe it, but even Vulture herself did not believe it. Not to mention the future, if Dongli said that he wanted to give her a second-class evil spirit now, she would do anything no matter what. She now deeply understood that only her own strength was true strength, and all the backers were unreliable. But it was too slow to become strong by herself. She really did not have the patience or courage. In fact, she had lost her patience after the failure to fight for the netherworld ghost fire last time. Therefore, the evil spirit energy became her only trump card to become strong. Who knows what will happen in the future? Maybe Dongli is already dead. Isn't it good to enjoy the present? Vulture kissed Yang Dingtian's neck and said, "You should know that although I have been tortured, I am still pure and flawless, because Dongli has been castrated by you. In fact, I am very curious. If the evil spirit energy can bring the dead back to life, why can't Dongli recover his ability as a man?" Yang Dingtian grabbed her hand again. In fact, although his heart could not bear another care and love. However, he didn't really care about the fact that there was another woman in his house. In particular, bringing Vulture into the house would directly bring huge benefits. However, Vulture's twisted mentality and greed for instant success made him completely flinch. If such a woman entered the house would definitely be restless. Yang Dingtian, don't pretend anymore. You must have special feelings for me. Vulture chuckled and said, I now understand the mentality of a man very well. A wife is not as good as a concubine, and a concubine is not as good as a mistress. And I used to be very close to you and regarded you as a brother, but later I betrayed you. If this kind of woman can be with you, because it can satisfy some unknown hobby in your heart. As it spoke, Vulture stuck out its tongue and licked Yang Dingtian's ear. I'm not as perverted as you think. Yang Dingtian grabbed Vulture's hand and pushed Vulture away and walked straight out. Yang Dingnan, don't be pretentious. All men are the same. Vulture said loudly from behind. After the ceremony, Yang Dingtian still did not leave. He did not sleep for the second half of the night. He kept thinking about Vulture's problem. How should he deal with Vulture's problem? It was impossible to keep Vulture. If it was a few years ago, he could still change it. But now, it was completely fixed and twisted. It was impossible to change it. Then, should he kill it? According to Bolu, he could either keep it in his house or kill it. But now, it seemed that killing it was impossible. If he killed Vulture, it would completely enrage Wolingzi. He might really do something desperate. At that time, it would be troublesome if he fought with the Council of Light. Could not keep it in his house? Could not kill it? Then what should he do? If she was allowed to stay in Vulture Palace, would she be able to stir up trouble? He would definitely encourage Wolingzi to purge and retaliate against the higher-ups of Vulture Palace. At that time, these higher-ups would have to rely more on the Council of Light. So, it seemed that Vulture had some effect again. Then it might be more beneficial to keep it as it was. In the following time, Wolingzi had been waiting for Yang Dingtian to leave so that he could purge the higher-ups of Vulture Palace. However, Yang Dingtian did not leave. He basically stayed in Vulture Palace every day. Not only did he not leave, but many of the higher-ups of the Council of Light still stayed in Vulture Palace as guests. They were not polite at all. The work of drawing them in and dividing them had been in progress. Wolingzi was burning with anxiety, but there was nothing he could do. He did not have the guts to purge and kill people in front of Yang Dingtian. At the same time, the Council of Light's efforts to draw the Black Vulture Army to their side became even more intense. More and more Black Vulture Army officers led their troops to join the Council of Light's army. In fact, under the Devil Dragon Army's massacre, the remaining forces of the Snake People Empire in the southern barbarian continent were quickly wiped out. The remaining half-human slaves had also been released. They also hated Queen Hai Xen to the core. Furthermore, they did not want to return to the Snake People Empire. Going back would mean death. So, Yang Dingtian made the decision to let these half-human slaves become the first batch of immigrants in the southern barbarian continent. Many people were worried about this order. They were afraid that it would cause racial conflict. However, after seeing these slaves, they gave up on this idea. This was because all the half-human slaves were a very docile race. Furthermore, they had characteristics very similar to humans. Most importantly, their appearances were not bad, especially the Foxman race and the more human-like Leopardman race. They were very beautiful. Therefore, perhaps the integration of humans and half-human races could start in the southern barbarian continent. It had to be known that most half-human races could reproduce with humans. Furthermore, the genes of the offspring would be more obvious. If this continued, the characteristics of the half-human race would gradually disappear after a few generations. After the Snake People Empire's remaining army was wiped out, all the slaves were released and settled down. After these millions of half-human slaves obtained land, houses, and food, they immediately became the Council of Light's greatest supporters. Previously, these millions of half-human slaves had built Queen's new city. There were also many villages and towns. These intact villages and towns, as well as many castles, could be used directly. The Council of Light's army could be stationed there. As for Queen's new city, it was basically in ruins. Only less than half of it was intact. Then, the next step was to rebuild a large city on these ruins. When the time came, this city would become the largest city in the southern middle continent. Furthermore, a large port would be built to serve as the headquarters of the southern middle continent's fleet. After the war ended, other than gathering materials from all over the place, countless materials from Zhongjing, Xijing, and other places had been loaded onto large ships. Countless craftsmen also boarded the ships and headed to the southern barbarian continent from all directions. They were prepared to rebuild the southern barbarian continent as quickly as possible. The naming rights of this large city that was about to be rebuilt were given to Yang Dingtian. He racked his brains and named it Southern Barbarian Bright City. This name was rather ordinary, but at least it represented a certain characteristic. It represented that the southern barbarian continent had moved from barbarism to civilization. Of course, the Council of Light's millions of soldiers were already stationed in the southern barbarian continent. They had also incited the Black Vulture Corps to rebel. However, there was still a long time before they could completely annex the southern barbarian continent and the Vulture Palace. At the very least, all the masters and above in the Vulture Palace had to pledge their loyalty to the Council of Light and isolate Wolingzi. At the very least, all the Black Vulture Corps had to enter the Council of Light's formation and be reorganized. Moreover, the Council of Light's forces had already completely surrounded the Vulture Palace. This was a very long process. It would take at least half a year. At the very beginning, Yang Dingtian had remained in the Vulture Palace to prevent Wolingzi's purge process. Wolingzi was burning with anxiety. His expression became more and more unsightly. However, the higher-ups of the Vulture Palace had also slacked off because of this. They were also less enthusiastic about the Council of Light's instigation. Moreover, the asking price was getting higher and higher. In the end, they had basically proposed that the southern barbarian continent would be directly under the control of the Vulture Palace's Elders Guild. Moreover, they would be directly infeft with territories, not just the position of city lord. Dongfang Minmi sternly proposed that the Council of Light had already stopped infeffing feudal lords. Therefore, he told the Vulture Palace's Elders Guild not to have such extravagant hopes. However, the Vulture Palace's Elders Guild believed that the southern barbarian continent was different from other places. It had never belonged to the Council of Light before. Therefore, it should be given special circumstances and special treatment. Therefore, the negotiations between the Council of Light and the Vulture Palace's Elders Guild fell into a stalemate. Moreover, under the influence of the Elders Guild, the instigation of the Black Vulture Corps also fell into a slow pace. The number of Black Vulture Corps defecting to the Council of Light decreased. Obviously, the Vulture Palace's Elders Guild gradually calmed down after not feeling the threat of Wolingzi's purge. Once they were at ease, their greed also rose. They no longer completely treated Yang Dingtian as a life-saving straw. In the end, the entire negotiation came to an end. This group of people is really insatiable, Qin Wanchou said angrily. Previously, they only wanted to cling to our thighs to save their lives. Now that they have saved their lives, they are actually asking for more. Each of them wants a few hundred miles or even 1,000 miles of direct territory. They even said that the southern barbarian continent's matters can only be managed by the southern barbarian continent's own people. Dream on. Song Shao said angrily, if you ask me, what's there to talk about? Nothing is as practical as fighting. Let's just fight. Yang Dingtian said, fighting is easy. Destroying the Vulture Palace's Elders Guild is also easy. However, unless it is absolutely necessary, we must not force Wolingzi into a corner. Once the fish dies and the net splits, the consequences will be very serious. At this moment, a demon eagle flew into the southern barbarian city's castle. It was Yun Junu. Sect Master, Yao Li has returned to Cloud Sky City. She brought back important information about the Snake Men Empire. It is very important and requires you to review it personally, Yun Junu said. Yang Dingtian stood up and said, if that's the case, I will return to Cloud Sky City. Let these greedy people in the Vulture Palace see the reality and feel Wolingzi's butcher's knife. Then, Yang Dingtian rode on the Demon Eagle King and flew towards Cloud Sky City. Chapter 888. Yang Dingtian returned to Cloud Sky City as fast as he could and immediately met Yao Li. The first sentence that Yao Li said almost made Yang Dingtian stumble and almost fall to the ground. Hai Xian's only disciple, who is also your wife, Huang Yu, led the resistance army and hid in the Holy Valley. She expressed her disobedience to Queen Hai Xian and did not need to eat Queen Hai Xian's food. Her life has been very difficult. Yao Li said, that's nothing. The key is, she already has your child. She's already 4 years old and it's a daughter. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian was completely shocked. Huang Yu actually had a daughter. He actually had a daughter who was over 4 years old. Moreover, she had been suffering in the Holy Valley with Huang Yu and he did not know at all. And Queen Hai Xian had never mentioned this matter? Shouldn't she be using this as a bargaining chip to threaten him? Immediately after, Yao Li continued. After Queen Hai Xian came to power, the purge of the original power class of the Naga Empire never stopped. It turned out that the 4 commanders and 16 generals under the Venomous Queen had all disappeared. They were replaced by new 9 marshals and 39 generals. Their cultivations all surpassed the previous 4 commanders. Yang Dingtian could not help but be shocked. He said, although the Naga race is stronger than humans, they also cultivate for a very long time. How did the Naga Empire produce so many limitless grandmasters in just a few years? Yao Li said, I found a forbidden area. That should be the reason why Queen Hai Xian and the other Naga race became so powerful. But I can't go in. There's a very, very powerful energy formation there. Other than Queen Hai Xian's lead, no one can enter. Yang Dingtian asked, that forbidden area, where is it? Yao Li said, in the center of the Dongli grassland, under an extremely huge lake. Yang Dingtian immediately realized that this was the place where the million-spirit demonic flame had bloomed. Queen Hai Xian actually placed this forbidden area there. Could it be that there was something special about it? Yao Li said, furthermore, Queen Hai Xian will be in this place most of the time. Furthermore, I also discovered that the current population of the Naga tribe has been reduced by half compared to Queen Poisa's time. Queen Hai Xian seems to have eliminated all unstable elements. Those who remained were all personally nurtured by her. They were all personally transformed by her and became extremely powerful. Yang Dingtian frowned. This meant that even if Yang Dingtian resurrected Queen Poisa, the higher-ups of the Naga Empire would still obey Queen Hai Xian's orders. Therefore, the only way to take back the Naga Empire was to kill Queen Hai Xian. Yang Dingtian asked, what do you think Queen Hai Xian's current cultivation is? Yao Li was silent for a moment, then shook her head and said, I don't know. Maybe it's very, very high. This Naga Queen makes me tremble. In fact, I feel that she seems to be stronger than many experts in Little Western Paradise. Previously, Queen Poisa's body had been stolen by Yang Dingtian. In other words, Yang Dingtian could resurrect Queen Poisa at any time. However, Poisa refused. She said that Queen Hai Xian would definitely engrave her on the Naga astrolabe. Once she was resurrected, the gem that belonged to her on the astrolabe would light up. That way, Hai Xian would know that Poisa was not dead. In that case, she would go on a killing spree. She would rather kill 30,000 innocents than let one live. Yang Dingtian did not expect that there would be something like the Naga astrolabe. However, once Hai Xian knew that Queen Poisa was not dead, she would be in mortal danger and would do anything. Moreover, Queen Poisa's body could no longer be placed in Cloud Sky City. Queen Hai Xian would definitely be able to sense it. She could not be placed in the interspatial ring because there was already a Naga Shuang in it. In the end, Yang Dingtian placed her in the safest place, which was the Li Water Manor, beside the demon mother of illusory spirits. That was the safest place and no one could enter. Gigi, is the demon spirit mist robe and demon spirit black armor ready? Yang Dingtian asked. Yes, it's ready. Are you going to use it to curry favor with that lover again? Wu Maji fiddled with the demonic crystals that Yang Dingtian gave her and said, Husband, this thing looks good, but it doesn't match our clothes at all. Yang Dingtian said, Take off your outerwear and pants, let down your hair, and wear this demonic crystal. It will match very well. Wu Maji immediately did as she was told and took off all her clothes. You don't have to take them off completely. Leave your undergarments. Yang Dingtian said hurriedly. Then, Wu Maji was only left with the silk undergarments that Yang Dingtian had designed. Then, she let down her hair and put on the crystal sunglasses that he gave her. She walked in front of the mirror and was stunned. So beautiful, so beautiful. It feels completely different from before. Wu Maji said in a trembling voice. Yang Dingtian was also stunned. A mixed-blood beauty in a bikini was right in front of him. She had such a devilish figure, such an enchanting face, and a natural seductive and domineering aura. God, this kind of beauty and sexiness could kill any supermodel on Earth in seconds. Yang Dingtian's breathing immediately became heavy. Then, in the next second, Yang Dingtian was pushed down. Do you want the demonic mist clothes? It's very simple. Let me change my clothes, 3 shots for 1. Wu Maji pressed onto Yang Dingtian's body and bit onto his lips with her fragrant little mouth as she spoke viciously. Immediately, Yang Dingtian was completely speechless. This seductress was truly capable of saying anything. Vixen emoji always did what she said. Yang Dingtian wanted to change into 2 sets of clothes. One was the demonic mist clothes, and the other was the demonic black armor. Also, she said that the demonic black armor was better, so the price was higher. So, if little Ah Cho didn't want to stick to his mother again, Yang Dingtian would still be in hell and heaven. Mother, mother, little Ah Cho kept shouting outside. What are you shouting for? Emoji, who was crazily squeezing Yang Dingtian, couldn't help but shout. Little Ah Cho didn't reply. Still mother, mother, mother. So annoying, so annoying. Emoji laid down her beautiful devilish body and fiercely bit Yang Dingtian's chest. It's all your fault. You made me give birth to this annoying person. My feelings are all gone from his shouting, Mother, mother, mother. Little Ah Cho was like a repeater as he kept shouting. Coming, coming, little ancestor. Wu Maji flipped over and impatiently put on her clothes. And Yang Dingtian quickly escaped from the back door. If he didn't leave now, he would really be squeezed dry. When Wu Maji hurriedly put on her clothes and opened the door to carry little Ah Cho. Who knew, when little Ah Cho saw his mother, he hugged his mother's thigh and said, Mother, I love you. Then he ran away without a trace. Emoji immediately gritted her teeth and shook her head with all her might. What kind of tricks are these brats playing? Very quickly, little Ah Cho ran into Yen Yen's room and stretched out his hand. Mother Yen Yen, I've already called my mother out. Yen Yen carried little Ah Cho and placed a cute snowflake candy in his hand. Then, she kissed his chubby little face and said, Baby, little Ah Cho is so obedient, so great. If Emoji knew that her own son was bribed by a candy to ruin her and Yang Dingtian's happy occasion, she would definitely explode in anger. Yang Dingtian was lying in the hot water. Yen Yen bathed him while giving him a massage. Compared to alluring, Wu Maji is really a vixen. Yen Yen grumbled. Who said she isn't? Yang Dingtian said. You still like her the most. Don't think that I don't know. Yen Yen pinched Yang Dingtian and said, although you also want to be fair and love everyone, the one you love the most is Wu Maji. Yang Dingtian said, who said so? The one I love the most is you. You're lying. Yen Yen said. It's true. Yang Dingtian said, my body loves Wu Maji the most, but my heart loves you the most. Yen Yen immediately beamed with joy. Actually, it's not like I don't know how to act like a vixen like her. But I love you, and I'm the first wife. I have to be virtuous and can't be so seductive. And that's reasonable. Yang Dingan said, "You're the most virtuous among the vixens, and also the most vixen among the virtuous wives." Yen Yen was instantly elated. She kissed Yang Dingtian's lips and said, "Husband, where's Sister Ling Tiu? The matter at the Vulture Palace is already over. She should be in Cloud Sky City. This is her home." Yang Dingtian said, She has her own thoughts. Because of her grandfather's matter, she went out to relax." "She's gone." Yen Yen said, "Do you want me to persuade her? Although we don't have many chances to meet, our relationship is very good." Yang Dingan shook his head and said, "She looks weak, but her will is very firm. It can't be changed." Yen Yen was silent for a moment, then said, Then, does that mean she's not your wife anymore? She's going to leave our family completely." Yang Dingtan nodded and said, "It should be. It can only be blamed that the two of them are not fated enough. Moreover, leaving before love is deep, it won't hurt each other much. It's a relatively good ending." Yen Yen did not speak. She hugged Yang Dingtian's neck tightly and said softly, "I don't envy their determination and intelligence at all. If someone wants to tear me away from you, then my whole body will be covered in blood, and then I won't be able to recover. I'll bleed to death." Yang Dingtan reached out and stroked her face, saying, "Me too." Yen Yen said, "This time, you're going to the Naga Empire again, right?" Yang Dingtian nodded. "Will it be dangerous? How long will it take?" Yen Yen asked. Yang Dingtian thought for a while and said, "I'm not sure yet because I'm not sure if I should completely tear apart Queen Hyexin. I haven't figured out her background yet. However, it shouldn't be too dangerous. She can't bear to kill me. I'm her only chance to have children." Yen Yen thought for a while and said, Then will she force you to have children with her, and then, she won't." Yang Dingtian said, "She doesn't want to have children now because once she has children, her cultivation will stagnate or even drop. She's very greedy. She doesn't want to give up on having children, but she also doesn't want her cultivation to drop." Yen Yen said, "People who are too greedy will not have a good ending." Yang Dingtian kissed her little mouth. This sentence was very ordinary, but it was definitely the truth. "Wow, this is great. Yang Ding, I love you so much. I love you so much that I love you so much." Yao Zi hugged Yang Dingtian's neck and jumped with all her might. She kissed him as if she didn't need money. Yang Dingtian tried his best to dodge, but he couldn't. In the end, Yao Li pulled her sister by the ear and took her away. Yao Zi was so excited because Yang Dingtian had agreed to take her to the Naga Empire. He had even let her wear the Dark Spirit black armor and Dark Spirit mist cloak. As Yao Li pulled her by the ear, she said, "Yang Dingen, I've already decided not to like you because you have so many wives. However, now that you've given me the Dark Spirit mist cloak and Dark Spirit black armor, I've decided to like you again." Now, Yang Dingtian was completely immune to her words. "I'm borrowing them, not giving them away," Yang Dingtian said. "Then I still love you," Yao Zi said. "However, it's not easy to take back anything that's in my hands." Yao Li looked at Yang Dingtian helplessly. She wanted him to reconsider whether it was a good idea to take this crazy girl to the Naga Empire. "Don't worry. Although she's naive, lively, and a little wild, she's very smart. She won't be a burden at a critical moment," Yang Dingtian said. This was the truth. When Yao Zi was in the Dark Realm, she had never been a burden at a critical moment. Whether it was escaping or fighting, she reacted quickly. Even when they were captured by Yao Ming, Yao Zi wasn't the first one to be captured. Moreover, Yao Zi was a rank 13 expert. Her cultivation was very high. She would be of great use to the Naga Empire. Yao Li nodded reluctantly. Then, she said fiercely, "When we go to the Naga Empire, listen to my orders. Otherwise, I'll really beat you up. Do you hear me?" I know. You're so annoying. You're my sister, not my mother. Be careful that you won't be able to get married in the future if you keep nagging like this," Yao Zi said impatiently. Yao Li couldn't take it anymore. She pressed Yao Zi down on her legs, locked her profound veins, and gave her a good spanking. Meanwhile, Yang Dingtian quickly left. It wouldn't be good to stay here and persuade them, but it wouldn't be good to not persuade them either. 15 minutes later, Yao Li and Yao Zi came out. Both sides ignored each other. Yao Zi covered her back and rode on the demon eagle. She complained to Yang Dingen, "You didn't help me when you saw me get beaten up. I hate you." Then, the three of them rode on the demon eagle and flew toward the Naga Empire. Chapter 889. The three demon eagles flew very high, completely exceeding the limit of the Snakemen Empire's aerial reconnaissance cavalry. But even so, when they were a few thousand miles away from the Snakemen Empire, the three immediately got off the demon eagles and dived into the sea, waiting for the sky to darken. The three demon eagles then returned to Cloud Sky City. After the sky darkened, the three flew to an altitude of 20 to 30,000 meters, directly using Xian's skill to fly, and entered the Snakemen Empire without anyone noticing. It had been almost 3 years since Yang Dingtian last came to the Snakemen Empire. Although it was night, the entire Dongli grassland had completely changed. It turned out that most of it was still covered by forests. At this time, countless forests had disappeared, replaced by countless castles. Looking from the sky, the ground was full of fire. The Snakemen Empire's crude forging factories and the shipyards by the sea were producing and manufacturing day and night. Like the Council of Light, everything in the Snakemen Empire since 2 to 3 years ago was to prepare for the future war. The war machine was turning to the extreme. But unlike the human countries, the population under the rule of the Yang Dingtian Council of Light was in the billions. The Snakemen Empire spanned tens of thousands of miles, and all the half-human clan added together barely exceeded 100 million. While the Council of Light was preparing for the war, most of the people were living better and better lives. Not only did the number of cannons, ships, and armor increase, but the increase in grain, meat, fruits, and vegetables was even more shocking. Countless people, after receiving their land from the feudal lords, erupted with a passion for production that was completely astonishing. Therefore, in the past few years, if one could calculate the GDP of the continent under the rule of the Tiando League, the GDP growth would be incomparably terrifying. Countless laborers were liberated, and countless lands were opened up. Therefore, many people were even joking. The so-called Doomsday War was simply fake. Yang Dingtian used the Doomsday War as a gimmick to carry out the biggest reform in the human countries. Because many problems could not be solved by normal means, and there were too many benefits involved. But under the theme of saving the world, everything had to give way. Yang Dingtian's left hand was righteous, and his right hand was military force. In the past few years, he had carried out earth-shaking reforms in the human countries. Moreover, the whole process was bloody. Countless corpses were crushed under the gears of the Council of Light's violent machine. But under the theme of saving the world, under the theme of Doomsday War, everything appeared righteous. Therefore, despite the extreme state of war preparations, the prosperity of the Snakemen Empire. However, the Snakemen Empire was different. Almost all of the races that didn't have any fighting power had been turned into slaves to build cities, excavate ores, forge weapons, and so on. All the races with combat power had become soldiers. Therefore, the current Snakemen Empire was no different from hell. Most of the production had stopped. Herding and harvesting had been interrupted for a long time. If it weren't for the Sea Heart Queen building a large number of fishing boats and fishing in the vast sea, the Snakemen Empire would have run out of food already. Even so, there was still a large-scale famine in the Naga Empire. There was no longer any fairness or justice in this place. In this place, strength was king. It was the most naked pyramid structure. The docile races had been reduced to worse than pigs and dogs. According to the Council of Light's intelligence, since the establishment of the Snakemen Empire, more than 8 million half-humans had died in the hands of Queen Poisa. And in the hands of Queen Hai Xian, more than 40 million half-humans had died, and this was a very conservative number. In other words, in the years after Queen Hai Xian ascended the throne, 30 to 40% of the Snakemen Empire's population had died. Now, the empire's war machine was still expanding. She had no choice. She had to maintain a certain level of strength with the human countries, lest the army of the Snakemen Empire be reduced to a supporting role in the upcoming Doomsday War. How many people were left in the Snakemen Empire? How many troops did they have? Of course, this was top secret. Except for Queen Hai Exin, no one knew. But the Council of Light had general information. The Snakemen Empire had an army of 20 million. Yes, it was 20 million. The entire human countries had a population of more than 2 billion, but there were only 20 million first-line troops. The current population of the Snakemen Empire was less than 100 million, but they still had an army of 20 million. Yang Dingtian was completely unable to imagine how the Sea Heart Queen was able to support an army of 20 million soldiers. There were tens of millions of slaves in the Snakemen Empire. Most of them were manufacturing weapons, mining, and warships. Only a few were involved in food production and herding. In fact, this had become the biggest mystery for the Council of Light and the biggest problem for the Council of Light's intelligence organization. Many people suspected that someone in the human countries was smuggling food. In the end, after a long investigation, they did not find any smuggling. It should be known that the Radiant Parliament's control over food was extremely strict. Under the surveillance of hundreds of thousands of winged cavalry warriors and countless ships, even if one wanted to smuggle food, the ships would not be able to go out to sea. So many people suspected that Sky Demon City was supplying food to the Snakemen Empire through secret channels. However, all of Sky Demon City's food was now supplied by the Council of Light. It did not produce food itself. Moreover, the extremely domineering Council of Light had almost deployed its army to the outside of Sky Demon City's walls. The reason why Sky Demon City was abnormally prosperous before was that the transactions between the Council of Light and the Evil Ways were carried out in Sky Demon City. So, almost all of the world's shady transactions were gathered in Sky Demon City. Now, the Evil Ways territory was only left with a few thousand square kilometers of territory and less than 10 million people. The two leaders of the Evil Ways, one Dugushao and the other Lone Wolf, no longer cared about worldly affairs. The Tiando League had been completely unified, so there was no need for any secret transactions. So, Sky Demon City withered rapidly. Now, most of the brothels could no longer operate in Sky Demon City, and most of the civilians could no longer survive in Sky Demon City. They fled to the Council of Light's territory and became ordinary citizens under Yang Dingtian's rule. It was impossible for such a desolate Sky Demon City to provide food for such a huge Snakemen Empire. Of course, it did not matter how Queen Hai Exin fed her army of 20 million people. But in short, such an abnormal power country could not exist for too long. If the Great War did not happen, the Snakemen Empire would collapse on its own. From this, it could be seen that Queen Hai Exin did not care about the life and death of the half-human race. She also did not want the wilderness of the Dongli grassland. She had always wanted to invade the human countries and enjoy the beautiful lands of the West Continent and even the Central Continent. Yang Dingtian and the other two crossed half of the Snakemen Empire's territory and quickly flew to the sky near Sacred Valley. It was ironic that when Queen Poisa ruled the Snakemen Empire, Saintess Hai Exin led the resistance army into Sacred Valley for the final resistance. After Hai Exin became the queen, her cruelty and evil deeds were 100 times more than Queen Poisa's. So, her disciple, who was also Yang Dingtian's wife, Huang Yu, led the resistance army into Sacred Valley again and continued the resistance. The outside of Sacred Valley was not only surrounded by a city wall, but also by a huge city. It was a huge military city. Queen Hai Exin built a huge city on the border of the defensive line outside Sacred Valley. The scale of this city was second only to the royal city. Hai Exin named it Mijing. The Snakemen Empire had 3 cities named Jingjing. The first was the royal city, Jingdu, also known as Exanjing, named after Hai Exin's heart. The second was the huge city under the celestial Red Sea, named Haijing. Firstly, it was named after the celestial Red Sea. Secondly, it was named after Queen Hai Exin's name. The third was Mijing on the west side of Sacred Valley. This name was also named after Queen Hai Xian's other name, Mi. From this, it could be seen that her mentality was one of absolute supremacy. The three Jingjing of the Snakeman Empire were named after her. Mi Jing was hundreds of miles long and wide. There were castles one after another and layers of defensive lines. There were at least 2 million troops stationed there. Yang Dingtian didn't know why Queen Hai Xian would build such a huge military city or why she had to station such an astronomical number of troops. Was it for the hundreds of thousands of resistance army in Sacred Valley? It could not be. Queen Hai Xian could crush all the resistance army with a single finger. If it was not for the resistance army in Sacred Valley, it would be the vast sea to the east. Moreover, this sea was infinite and overlapped with space. Even if one flew out for 100,000 miles or 200,000 miles, there would be no end to it. It was impossible for the human kingdoms to attack through this area of the sea. However, Queen Hai Xian made this the most important defensive area. She must have her reasons. To enter Sacred Valley, one must pass through Mijing. Even though it was night and they were flying 10,000 meters above the ground, Yang Dingtian did not dare to be careless. He carried Yao Li in his left hand and Yao Zi in his right. Then he used his invisibility mystic skill and demonic spirit mist cloak flash to pass through Mijing. Without a doubt, Yang Dingtian was right to be careful. Because Queen Hai Xian had set up a huge energy formation in the sky above Mijing. Any energy that passed through would be detected, even if it was 10,000 meters above the ground. After Yang Dingtian entered invisibility, he entered a pseudo-isolated space and could not create any energy waves. That was why he could pass through Mijing without being detected. After passing through Mijing, Yang Dingtian arrived outside Sacred Valley. Immediately he saw a crude city gate and a mountain pass. There were dozens of Foxman race warriors guarding it. It formed a stark contrast with the colossal Mijing. Yang Dingtian did not alert anyone and directly flashed into Sacred Valley from the sky. After entering Sacred Valley, Yang Dingtian saw an incomparably miserable scene. Almost all of them were dressed in rags. Everyone was sallow and emaciated. Fortunately, the people here were no longer just living in tents. They were basically all living in wooden houses. Furthermore, the entire Sacred Valley had been extensively transformed, reclaiming many fields. Even many forests had been cut down and turned into arable land. There were densely packed houses, one after another. The entire Sacred Valley had already become a huge village. No less than 100,000 rebels who were unwilling to obey Queen Hai Xian lived in this densely packed village. It was already different from the Sacred Valley in Yang Dingtian's impression. Yang Dingtian walked on the dilapidated but orderly village roads, wanting to find Huang Yu's residence. This was obviously not an easy task, because the densely packed houses here were all similar. Deep into the center of Sacred Valley town, by the side of a river, Yang Dingtian saw a small square. There, Yang Dingtian saw a small castle, a house made of stone. Furthermore, there were several Foxman race warriors guarding the outside of the house. The owner of this house was either Day by Day Bella or Huang Yu. Yang Dingtian turned invisible and quickly flashed into the small castle. Soon he heard a familiar voice from inside. However, it was not Huang Yu's, but Princess Xiang of the Foxman race. Yang, you piss me off. Do you know how scarce food is now? How can you throw food on the ground? Apologize immediately. Princess Xiang's voice sounded flustered and exasperated. Yang Dingtian jumped out of the window and saw Princess Xiang carefully picking up the coarse oatmeal on the ground, carefully wiping it and putting it into her mouth. Yang Dingtian could not help but feel sour in his heart. Princess Xiang, the daughter of the Foxman race's chief, Juri Bela, was the pearl in the palm of the entire Foxman race. She used to be so plump, but now she was so thin that her eye sockets were sunken and her chin was so sharp. Her delicate body seemed to be as light as a feather. Furthermore, the clothes on her body were also very tattered and had many patches on them. Xiang was the princess of the Foxman race. If even she was like this, it could be seen how scarce the resources in Sacred Valley were. In front of Xiang, A little girl about 4 years old stood there angrily. She raised her little chin and pouted her little mouth as she confronted Xiang Xiang. However, her back was facing Yang Dingtian, so he could not see her face clearly. However, from the back view, she was a very stubborn little girl. Although her clothes were very exquisite, they had been worn for a long time. Moreover, the corners of her clothes were worn out. Yang Wu, how can you be so insensible? How can you waste food? Do you know how many people don't have enough to eat now? Xiang Xiang said angrily, you must apologize to Auntie. The little girl said crisply, I don't want to eat, I want Mommy to feed me. Who told her to not be at home every day? Mommy is very busy. Can't Auntie accompany you? Xiang Xiang said. No, I want Mommy, I want Mommy. The little girl said loudly. She clenched her teeth and did not cry. Xiang Xiang went over and hugged the little girl. She gently coaxed, good baby, Mommy will be back tonight. At this time, Yang Dingtian finally saw the little girl, the daughter he had never seen before. After taking a look, Yang Dingtian was instantly stunned. This daughter of his didn't look like Huang Yu. She didn't look like him, a living little Dugu Fengwu. That's right, no matter if it was her eyes or her nose, she looked exactly like Dugu Fengwu. This tall and exquisite nose was filled with willpower, and Yang Dingtian could see it with a single look. Furthermore, when she raised her chin, that domineering and powerful look was exactly the same as Dugu Fengwu. Yang Li was Dugu Fengwu's son, but he only inherited a portion of Dugu Fengwu's characteristics. The other half was Yang Dingtian's, which was a little arrogant. This little girl in front of him was a complete copy of Dugu Fengwu. However, because of the lack of resources, the little girl was a little skinny. Her small face was sharp, and her eyes were very big. However, Yang Dingtian recognized the heroic spirit that belonged to Dugu Fengwu with a single look. What was going on? Yang Dingtian was truly confused. Wasn't it already proven that Huang Yu wasn't Dugu Fengwu? In fact, Yang Dingtian had already reconfirmed that Yun Zhenu was actually Dugu Fengwu. Why was there a reversal now? The daughter that Huang Yu gave birth to was actually a small copy of Dugu Fengwu. That could only prove one thing. Huang Yu was Dugu Fengwu. Even if her soul spirit wasn't, her body was definitely Dugu Fengwu's. Her child was the irrefutable proof. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian thought of a possibility. Then, he clenched his teeth. If that was the case, then Queen Hai Xian's intentions were truly unforgivable. If you aren't obedient, father won't come and visit you. Xiang Xiang couldn't convince her daughter and was instantly angry. So be it. You guys only know how to lie anyway. Yang Wu said loudly, I know. My father doesn't want mother and me anymore. I don't care. Since she doesn't want us, we don't want her either. Afterward, she threw the small bowl on the ground again and even stepped on it with her little feet. Bad father, bad father. I don't want father anymore. I don't want father anymore. The little girl stepped on it and finally couldn't hold it in anymore as she cried out loudly. Xiang Xiang couldn't hold it in either. She hugged the little girl and also started crying. At this moment, Yang Dingtian couldn't hold it in anymore. He quickly rushed in and hugged the little girl tightly in his arms. Good girl, good girl. Father is here. Sorry. Yang Dingtian's tears couldn't help but flow out. He hugged the little girl tightly and kissed her hair with all his might. She was really skinny. She was already over 4 years old, but she didn't even weigh 10 kilograms. Yang Dingon was so heartbroken that he was about to suffocate. He really regretted not coming to the Snake Men Empire earlier. Of course, the reason was because he didn't want to completely anger Queen Hai Xian. He also felt that Huang Yu was Hai Xian's disciple and her only family. Queen Hai Xian probably wouldn't do anything to her. But in reality, he still didn't care enough about Huang Yu. In the end, he let his wife and daughter suffer from the moment they were born. The little lass was in Yang Dingtian's embrace and was immediately scared silly. At this moment, the sound of the door opening came from below. Huang Yu's voice sounded. Good girl, mother is back. Are you good? Huang Yu's voice was filled with intimacy, but it was also filled with fatigue. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.